Hey friends, tonight we're going to dive into the daily life of a Roman slave. Now, you might be picturing epic gladiator battles or dramatic chariot races, right? Well, prepare to be surprised, because this story isn't quite what Hollywood wants you to think. It's less about the grand spectacles and more about the quiet, often unseen rhythms of ancient life. If you find yourself enjoying this calming journey through history, and only if you genuinely do, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing for more. It truly helps me bring these stories to life. And I'm always curious to know where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you right now. Let me know in the comments below. For now, why don't you dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan, or just get super comfortable wherever you are. Let's ease into tonight's journey together. You awaken not to the gentle kiss of a new day, but to the brutal, unyielding grip of the pre-dawn chill. It is a cold that does not merely touch the skin, but seeps into the very marrow of your bones. A constant companion in the unheated corners of the insula or the drafty alcoves of a sprawling domus. Your eyes, still heavy with the fleeting solace of sleep, register the faintest hint of grey at the edges of the grimy window opening, a promise of light yet hours away. This is not the measured progression of modern clocks, but the visceral, ancient rhythm dictated by the sun, or more accurately, its absence. For you, the sun's first rays are not a signal to rise, but merely a confirmation that you should have been up hours ago, already immersed in the relentless grind of another day. Do you ever truly sleep, or merely descend into a shallower form of vigilance? It is a question that, were you to voice it, would be met with either a blank stare or, more likely, a swift, sharp reminder of your place. For the Roman slave, sleep is a luxury, a fleeting truce with exhaustion, always secondary to the demands of the master, the mistress, or the very structure of the household itself. Your pallet, a thin straw mat laid upon a hard floor, offers little comfort, yet it is your only sanctuary from the endless demands of Roman life. You feel the familiar ache in your joints, the stiffness in your back, testimony to hours spent, bent over tasks, carrying burdens, or simply standing motionless, waiting for a command that might never come, or might come with the sudden, sharp crack of a whip. The world outside your tiny, shared sleeping space is still cloaked in the deep, inky blackness of the hour before dawn, yet a cacophony of nascent sounds already begins to stir. The distant braying of a donkey, the muffled clatter of amphorae in a neighboring taberna, the faint, rhythmic scraping of a broom against stone from a courtyard below. These are the whispers of a city awakening, not with a roar, but with a gradual, almost grudging sigh. You discern the familiar creak of the floorboards above, a sign that the dominus or domina has perhaps stirred in their plush bed, even if only to shift their weight, a silent command for the household to remain alert. You are, after all, an extension of their will, a living tool in the vast, intricate machinery of Roman daily life. Your body, despite its protests, already knows the routine. There is no need for an external alarm, no luxury of hitting a snooze button. Your internal clock, calibrated by years of relentless schedules and the fear of punishment, is more precise than any water clock. You rise carefully so as not to disturb the two other bodies crammed into this small space. Their breathing deep and even, though their sleep is as restless as your own. You pull on your simple tunic, worn and patched, the fabric stiff with the accumulation of sweat and grime. It offers little warmth, but it is your uniform, your only attire, marking you instantly as part of the vast, indispensable, yet utterly disposable workforce of Rome. The air in the cramped room is stale, heavy with the scent of unwashed body, stale straw, and the lingering odor of last night's lamp oil. You step out into the dimly lit corridor, which now seems even colder than your sleeping quarters. Here, other shadows begin to stir, fellow slaves, their faces etched with the same weariness, their movements equally hushed. There is a silent acknowledgement, a shared understanding of the invisible bonds that tie you all to this existence. No words are exchanged, for words, especially in the pre-dawn quiet of a wealthy Roman household, can be dangerous. A misspoken syllable, a laugh too loud, a cough that carries too far, any of these could draw the attention of the vicus, the household manager, or worse, the dominus himself, and attention, for a slave, is rarely a good thing. Your first task, as always, is to attend to the cubicula, the sleeping chambers of the family. Not to disturb them, no, never that, but to ensure the cellae, the small storage rooms or cubicles off their sleeping quarters, are in order. You navigate the dark passages, your bare feet silent on the cold stone, a ghost in your own life. Each step is deliberate, each breath measured. You know the layout of this sprawling domus better than the back of your own hand. Every secret passage, every hidden nook, every squeaky floorboard is mapped in your mind. This is your intimate knowledge, your hidden wisdom, born of necessity and survival. For in this rigidly hierarchical world, even the smallest advantage, the most seemingly insignificant piece of information, can be the difference between a relatively peaceful day and one filled with pain. The air thickens with the smell of damp earth and stale water as you approach the lavatrina, the latrine area. It is a communal space, though perhaps communal is too grand a word for the hurried, often humiliating, moments spent here. Slaves empty chamber pots from the cubicula into the main drain that flows into the Cloaca Maxima, the great sewer of Rome. The stench is acrid, assaulting your nostrils, a constant reminder of the raw, unadorned reality of ancient sanitation. You fetch a large earthenware jug of water, still icy from the cistern, and a rough sponge. This is for the preliminary cleaning, a ritual purification before the true work of the day begins. You splash the cold water over your face, then your arms, a shock to the system that quickly chases away the last vestiges of sleep. It is a moment of fleeting cleanliness, a small, practical act of self-preservation in a world where personal hygiene is often a luxury you cannot afford. You do not contemplate the philosophical implications of cleanliness here. You simply recognize its practical necessity in avoiding disease. A pragmatic wisdom born of countless observations of those who did not take such precautions. As the sky lightens to a pale, ethereal grey, you begin your rounds. First, the oil lamps must be extinguished and put away. You move through the silent rooms, snuffing out the flickering flames, the lingering scent of olive oil and soot filling the air. In the tablinum, the master's study, you carefully extinguish the ornate bronze lamp, its wick still smoking faintly. Here, scrolls lie neatly rolled in their capsi, the writing implements, styluses, wax tablets, arranged just so. You do not touch them, not unless specifically instructed. This room, more than any other, is a symbol of the dominus's intellect and authority, a place where hidden wisdom, in the form of ancient texts and learned discourse, is supposedly cultivated. You, however, are merely the silent guardian of its physical space, a living automaton ensuring its immaculate presentation. You wonder, sometimes, as you glance at the carefully preserved papyri, what secrets they hold, what knowledge, what forgotten histories, What grand philosophies are contained within those tightly wound scrolls? Can the world truly be changed by the words written on these delicate sheets? Or is it merely an endless cycle of power and subjugation, meticulously recorded for posterity? You pause for a moment by the large, intricately carved wooden chest in the tablinum. It is secured with a massive bronze lock, its mechanism a marvel of Roman engineering, a testament to the ingenuity of those who sought to protect their possessions. You run your fingers over the cool, smooth metal, tracing the lines of the keyhole. Security, you reflect, is an illusion, a dance between the locked and the lockpicker. For every lock there is a key, and for every key a way to circumvent it. You have seen other slaves, those with a particular knack, studying such mechanisms, learning their secrets, not for malice, but out of a morbid curiosity, a desire to understand the hidden workings of the world, even the mechanisms of their own confinement. It is a subtle humor, born of observation. The master prides himself on his impenetrable locks, yet it is the slave, the very embodiment of his property, who often possesses the most intimate knowledge of their vulnerabilities. The first faint rays of the sun, now a muted orange, finally kiss the eastern walls of the domus. The city slowly begins to hum with life. The rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the distant shouts of street vendors setting up their stalls in the forum, the murmur of early risers heading to the baths or to their morning appointments. Your day, however, is not just beginning, it is already well underway. You move to the triclinium, the dining room, where last night's feast has left its messy imprint. Crumbs litter the mosaic floor, wine stains mar the polished marble table, and the lingering scent of roasted meat and exotic spices hangs heavy in the air. This is where the illusion of Roman grandeur truly meets the gritty reality of slave labor. The pursuit of beauty, the grand feasts, the lavish displays, all of it is built upon the tireless, often invisible, work of people like you. The leftovers, if there are any that the Dominus deems unworthy, will be your breakfast, a meager portion of bread and perhaps a few scraps of meat. Practical survival, you know, often means making do with the discarded crumbs of another's abundance. You pick up a stray piece of bread from the floor, brush off the dust, and quickly consume it. A small act of defiance against the gnawing hunger that is your constant companion. This is the first, unofficial meal of your day, snatched in the quiet moments before the official demands begin. The taste of the stale bread, though gritty and flavorless, provides a fleeting moment of primal satisfaction, a small victory against the ever-present emptiness in your stomach. It is a fundamental truth of your existence. Sustenance is not a right, but a conquest, often salvaged from the discards of those who command your life. You quickly wipe your mouth with the back of your hand, ensuring no telltale crumbs remain. For even this small act of eating without explicit permission could be misconstrued, interpreted as theft, or worse, as a moment of idleness. Now, the real work of cleansing the triclinium begins. You fetched the rough straw broom and the heavy dustpan, made of woven reeds. The mosaic floor, a dazzling tapestry of geometric patterns and mythological scenes when clean, is now obscured by a scatter of food scraps, spilled wine, and fallen flowers from last night's garlands. You begin sweeping with a rhythmic, almost hypnotic motion, careful not to scuff the polished surface. Each sweep is a meditation on the dichotomy of Roman life, the grand spectacle of their banquets, celebrated with exuberant excess, juxtaposed with the humble, often back-breaking labor required to erase its hensi. You gather the refuse into a pile, separating the organic matter, bits of roasted fowl, fruit peels, remnants of sauces. From the inorganic, the former will go to the kitchen slaves, perhaps to be repurposed for animal feed, or simply dumped into the city's burgeoning waste heaps. The latter, the broken pottery shards, the lost tesserae from the mosaic rare, but it happens, the stray pieces of jewelry that occasionally slip from a drunken guest's fingers, these are carefully collected. Sometimes, if you are lucky, a valuable trinket might go unnoticed by the villicus during his inspection rounds, a tiny, illicit treasure that could be bartered for a few copper coins, or perhaps for a moment of silence from a particularly cruel overseer. It is a grim lottery, played out in the shadows of opulence. Next, the tables, the lecti triclinias, the dining couches themselves, are covered in rich fabrics, now wrinkled and stained. You painstakingly smooth out the creases, brush away the crumbs, and, with a damp cloth, gently wipe down the intricate wooden frames, often inlaid with ivory or bronze. The very air still hums with the echoes of last night's conversations. The laughter, the boasting, the whispered intrigues. You are a silent observer, a living part of the furniture, privy to the unguarded moments of the elite. You have heard declarations of love, threats of ruin, strategies for political advancement, all delivered with wine-loosened tongues. This is your hidden wisdom, the unwritten history of the household, stored not in scrolls, but in your memory. What good is such knowledge to you, a slave? Perhaps none, in a practical sense, yet it offers a peculiar, detached understanding of the follies and ambitions that drive your masters. The marble surface of the main dining table, once gleaming, is now a canvas of dried wine rings and greasy smudges. You fetch a bucket of water from the impluvium, the pool in the atrium that collects rainwater, and a coarser sponge. With strong, steady strokes, you scrub away the evidence of last night's revelry. The cool water, though a blessing in the heat of summer, bites at your hands in the pre-dawn chill. You see the faint reflection of your own face in the polished marble, a fleeting, distorted image. Do they ever see you, truly see you, as you polish their world into existence? Or are you simply another surface to be cleaned, another utility to be manipulated? It is a subtle philosophical inquiry, posed not by words, but by the silent, unacknowledged labor of your hands. As you work, the household slowly, inevitably, begins to awaken. You hear the distinct sounds of the dominus coughing, a phlegmy rasp that signals his imminent emergence. In another part of the domus, the Ancilla female slaves are already preparing the bath water for the domina, heating immense quantities over roaring fires, a laborious process that demands strength and precision. Other slaves, designated for the cubicula, are now entering the master's chamber, laying out his tunic, his toga, his sandals. Each item is chosen with meticulous care, not just for comfort, but for status, for appearance. For a Roman citizen, dressing is not merely an act of covering the body, but a performance, a declaration of one's social standing and political allegiances. You yourself must also prepare for their presence. You quickly check your own tunic, smoothing out the wrinkles, ensuring it is as presentable as possible. Even as a slave, the appearance you present is a reflection of the household's order, a subtle marker of its prestige. A disheveled slave implies a chaotic household, a reflection of poor management. This is the irony. Your cleanliness, your order, your very presence are all part of the master's curated image of himself. You are a living prop in his grand play, a silent actor whose performance is judged by its invisibility. A sharp, imperious clap echoes from the master's cubiculum. It is the signal. The dominus, is ready to receive his morning callers, his salutators. This means the atrium, the grand central hall, must be immaculate. You quickly finish your work in the triclinium, placing the dining couches back into their perfect alignment, ensuring every cushion is fluffed, every surface gleaming. You then move into the atrium, a vast, imposing space with its central impluvium and the high ceiling open to the sky. Here, the ancestral busts gaze down from their niches, silent witnesses to generations of this family's history, their cold marble eyes seemingly judging your every move. You quickly check the bronze tripod tables, ensuring they are free of dust. You arrange a few strategically placed potted plants, their leaves vibrant green against the cool grey of the stone. The air, though still cool, now carries the faint scent of olive oil from the lamps being snuffed out, mixed with the richer aroma of incense just lit in the household shrine, the lararium. This is where the household gods, the Lares and Pinites, are honored. A daily ritual meant to ensure the family's prosperity and protection. You, too, offer a silent, unseen prayer, though yours is not to the grand gods of Rome, but to the simpler deities of survival, of strength, of enduring another day. Soon, the first salutators will begin to arrive. Clients, freedmen, less affluent citizens seeking patronage, a daily ritual that reinforces the hierarchical structure of Roman society. They will gather in the atrium, waiting for their turn to pay respects to the Dominus, to seek his favor, his advice, or his financial assistance. And you, the slave, will be there, a silent sentinel, opening the heavy wooden doors, guiding them to their places, fetching water or scrolls as commanded. You will witness the bowing and scraping, the flattery and the subtle power plays. It is a theater of social performance, where every gesture, every word, every piece of clothing is carefully choreographed. You will observe the subtle differences in their togas, the quality of their sandals, the way they carry themselves. This detailed observation is another form of hidden wisdom, allowing you to anticipate needs, predict moods, and navigate the treacherous currents of the Roman elite. You hear the distinct, heavy thud of the main oak doors of the Domos being unbarred from within by the Ostiarius, the doorkeeper slave. The first salutator has arrived. The day, in its full, unrelenting force, has officially begun. The quiet solitude of the pre-dawn hours is shattered, replaced by the bustling energy of a Roman household in full operation. You stand by the entrance to the atrium, a statue of watchful anticipation. Your face is impassive, devoid of emotion, a mask perfected over years. Yet, beneath this veneer of stillness, your mind is a whirl of calculations, anticipating the next command, the next task, the next unseen demand on your energy and your spirit. You are not merely a body here. You are a finely tuned instrument, responding to the subtle vibrations of power that reverberate through the domot. The heavy oak door, unbarred by the Ostiarius, swings inward with a ponderous groan, admitting the first salutator into the grand atrium. Your eyes, trained to absorb every detail, immediately register the man. His toga, though clean, lacks the pristine whiteness of the truly elite, its folds perhaps not as meticulously arranged. His sandals, while adequate, do not boast the fine leather or intricate stitching of someone truly wealthy. These are the subtle, yet instantly legible, markers of Roman society, a language spoken not with words, but with fabric, posture, and the very sheen of one's footwear. You have learned to read this language fluently, for it dictates your actions, your deference, your anticipatory service. He steps across the threshold, his posture a carefully calibrated blend of humility and practiced confidence. He offers a quick, almost perfunctory nod to the household shrine, the lararium, then turns his gaze towards the cubiculum of the Dominus, from which muffled voices now emanate. He stands in the atrium, one of many clients who will pass through this space this morning, each seeking a sliver of the Master's time, influence, or largesse. For them, this daily ritual, the salutatio, is not merely a formality, but a vital artery of Roman social and economic life. For you, it is a parade of human aspiration and dependency, played out daily before your unblinking eyes. You glide forward, a shadow moving without sound, opening the inner door that leads further into the atrium proper, a silent invitation to enter the Master's sphere. The salutator offers you a dismissive glance, his eyes already fixed on the inner sanctum. You are merely a doorway, a temporary obstruction, a piece of the household's scenery. Yet, you observe. You note the slight tremor in his hand as he adjusts his toga, the nervous twitch at the corner of his mouth. These small tells, almost imperceptibly, reveal the hidden anxieties beneath the performative dignity. Everyone, it seems, performs. The master, the clients, even the slaves, each plays a role in this grand, ceaseless drama of Roman life. More salutators begin to arrive, a steady trickle at first, then a more insistent flow. The ostiarius opens and closes the heavy door with monotonous regularity. You, meanwhile, remain vigilant in the atrium, a silent guardian of the space, anticipating needs before they are voiced. One client gestures for water. You are already moving to fetch a silver goblet, carefully ensuring it is spotless before presenting it. Another asks for a particular scroll from the tablinum. You retrieve it swiftly, your knowledge of the Master's library, though unspoken, superior to most. It is a hidden wisdom, a practical intelligence that allows you to navigate this complex social choreography with a seamless efficiency that often goes unacknowledged, yet is keenly felt should it falter. The atrium fills with the murmur of low voices, a polite hum of anticipation. Some clients huddle in small groups, exchanging whispered pleasantries, or perhaps discreet gossip. Others stand stiffly, alone, their eyes fixed on the closed door of the Dominus's chamber, a picture of anxious reverence. You watch them, these free men, bound by a different kind of chain, the chain of patronage, of social obligation. Is their freedom truly so different from your servitude? They bow and scrape, flatter and cajole, all for the favor of another. You, too, bow and scrape, but at least your servitude is overt, acknowledged. Theirs is cloaked in the deceptive garments of liberty and ambition. It is a sardonic observation, a quiet, internal chuckle at the intricate dances humans perform for status and power. Finally, the door to the cubiculum opens wider, and the Dominus emerges. He is a man of imposing presence, his toga impeccably draped, its pristine whiteness a stark contrast to the faded hues of his client's garments. His face, though perhaps still bearing the slight puffiness of sleep, is composed, his expression one of benign authority. He is ready for his performance, the daily affirmation of his standing. He moves with a deliberate, measured pace, acknowledging the greetings of his salutators with a series of nods and short, resonant phrases. Good morning, Quintus. A fine day, Gaius. Each interaction is brief, precise, designed to convey favor without excessive familiarity, to maintain distance while extending connection. You observe the subtle hierarchy even among the salutatores. Some are allowed a few more moments of the Dominus's time, a slightly warmer greeting, a more direct gaze. These are the favored, the truly important clients whose influence might benefit the household. Others receive only a fleeting acknowledgement, a mere nod in passing. Your master, like all powerful Romans, is a master of social calculus, constantly weighing and measuring the utility of each interaction. This is the practical aspect of Roman power, distilled into daily ritual. As the salutatio progresses, the air in the atrium grows warmer, not just from the rising sun that now streams through the open roof, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, but from the combined presence of so many bodies. The initial chill of dawn has given way to a more tolerable temperature, though the sense of obligation remains as crisp as ever. You move about with quiet efficiency, offering small amenities, a fresh basin of water for hand washing, a clean cloth to wipe away perspiration, the discreet disposal of a used wax tablet. You are an invisible hand, ensuring the smooth flow of this essential daily ceremony. The conversations that drift towards you are a mix of mundane pleasantries and thinly veiled requests. The harvest, Domini, it looks promising this year, with the blessing of the gods. My son, he shows great promise in rhetoric, if only he could gain entry to a suitable tutor. A small legal matter has arisen, Domini, one that requires your esteemed wisdom. Each plea, each compliment, is carefully phrased, a delicate negotiation for favor. You hear the same sentiments, the same strategies, day after day, year after year. Has anything truly changed in the human heart? The desires remain constant: security, advancement, recognition. Only the methods and the costumes differ. A philosophical question flickers through your mind. In this intricate dance of power, who truly holds the reins? Is it the Dominus, whose every utterance is weighed, and whose favor is so eagerly sought? Or is it, perhaps, the invisible network of those who serve him, whose labor allows him the leisure to dispense such favor, whose very existence underpins his grandeur? The marble busts of ancestors gaze down, stoic and unblinking, from their niches. They represent the past, the inherited authority. But you, the silent servant, represent the present, the active force that allows that authority to manifest. It is a quiet, subversive thought, a hidden wisdom known only to those who move unseen in the shadows of power. The salutatio slowly draws to a close. The flow of clients diminishes to a trickle, then ceases entirely. The Dominus, having dispensed his wisdom and patronage for the morning, retreats back into his inner chambers, perhaps to breakfast, or to begin the more serious business of the day. The atrium, which moments ago buzzed with activity, now returns to its quieter, more contemplative state. You begin the process of tidying, straightening the few misplaced stools, sweeping away any stray debris. The air is still thick with the lingering scent of their perfumes, the faint metallic tang of the coins that might have exchanged hands, and the subtle, lingering tension of ambition. You are left with the quiet aftermath, the silent stage after the actors have departed. Your next task awaits: the preparation of the master's breakfast. It will not be a lavish affair like the previous night's feast, but a more modest meal, though still far beyond anything you yourself will eat. Bread, cheese, olives, perhaps some dried fruit. These items must be fetched from the culina, the kitchen, where a new symphony of sounds is now rising. The clatter of pots, the sizzle of oil, the sharp smell of wood smoke from the ovens. Your day, rather than easing, merely shifts gears from the subtle art of social choreography to the tangible, primal demands of food. The transition is seamless, a testament to the unyielding rhythm of your existence. You walk towards the kitchen, your mind already calculating the quickest route, the most efficient movements. Efficiency, you know, is not just a virtue. It is a necessity, a practical solution to the endless demands placed upon you. You move through the domas, away from the formal spaces of reception and into the utilitarian heart of the household, the kalina. The transition is abrupt, marked not by grand architectural flourishes, but by a sudden shift in atmosphere. The cool, quiet dignity of the atrium gives way to a vibrant, almost chaotic symphony of sounds, smells, and heat. The air, previously crisp with the scent of lamp oil and old marble, now assaults your senses with a complex tapestry of aromas. The sharp temps of wood smoke from the central hearth, the pungent aroma of fermenting garum, the ubiquitous Roman fish sauce, mingled with the faint, tantalizing scent of roasting meat and simmering herbs. The kitchen is a world unto itself, a microcosm of organized chaos. Here, the strict, silent formality of the master's presence is replaced by a different kind of order, one dictated by the urgency of hunger and the precision of culinary art. Flames leap and crackle in the large open hearth, casting dancing shadows on the grimy walls. Pots, blackened with years of use, hang from iron hooks, their contents bubbling and steaming. Slaves, stripped to their waist or wearing simple, sweat-stained tunics, move with frantic efficiency, their movements honed by countless hours of chopping, stirring, and lifting. This is where true ingenuity often resides, not in grand philosophical treatises, but in the practical solutions for feeding a multitude. How do you feed a household of dozens, sometimes hundreds, with no refrigeration, limited tools, and a constantly shifting supply of ingredients? It demands resourcefulness, knowledge of preservation, and an almost intuitive understanding of fire and flavor. The kokwis, the head chef, stands at the heart of this maelstrom, a figure of undisputed authority within the kitchen's confines. He is often a freedman, or at least a slave of considerable standing. His value measured by his palate and his ability to transform humble ingredients into palatable, even impressive, dishes. He barks orders, his voice raspy from smoke and shouting, directing a cohort of lesser kitchen slaves, the pistors who grind grain and bake bread, the obsoinators who handle the meat and fish, the vulcanari who tend the fires, and the myriad assistants who perform the endless tasks of washing, peeling, and chopping. You, being a general household slave, often find yourself assigned here for specific fetching and carrying duties, a temporary visitor in their specialized domain. Boy, the master's breakfast. The Caucase's voice cuts through the din, not directed at you specifically, but at the air, assuming someone will respond. You step forward, a silent acknowledgement. He gestures towards a small wooden table, laden with the simple provisions for the Dominus's morning meal. Unlike the multi-course extravagance of last night's cena, breakfast is a humble affair, a concession to the practical demands of a Roman's day. You begin to gather the items, a freshly baked loaf of Ponies quadratus, its surface crisscrossed with scoring marks, still warm from the oven, a wedge of hard, pungent cheese, its rind scarred with age, a handful of plump, black olives glistening with oil, and a small, delicate dish of dried figs, sticky with natural sweetness. To these, you add a small flask of diluted wine, for the master does not drink plain water, and a simple earthenware cup. Each item is carefully selected, inspected for flaws. Even in its simplicity, the master's breakfast must be perfect, a reflection of his impeccable standards. As you arrange the items on a small, clean wooden tray, you observe the activity around you. A young slave girl struggles to lift a heavy amphora of oil, her face strained with effort. An older man, his hands gnarled and scarred, expertly sharpens a bronze knife against a whetstone. The rhythmic rasp, a constant backdrop to the kitchen's hum. The air is thick with the scent of roasting fowl, a rich, savory aroma that makes your stomach rumble with a familiar ache. You are grateful for the discarded bread from earlier, for this feast, like so many others, is not for you. You see a pist kneading dough with powerful, practiced movements, his forearms dusted with flour. The transformation of grain into bread, a staple of Roman life, is a testament to human ingenuity. From humble seeds, through the laborious process of grinding, mixing, and baking, comes sustenance that has fueled empires and sustained countless lives. It is a simple, yet profound act of alchemy, a hidden wisdom passed down through generations, not in grand scrolls, but in the calloused hands of bakers. Can a simple loaf of bread truly embody such history, such knowledge? You believe it can. A subtle humor emerges from the contrast between the Caucase's passionate pronouncements on the perfection of a simple piece of cheese for the master, and the rough, unceremonious way the kitchen slaves themselves will grab a handful of boiled lentils or a scrap of gruel for their own meals. The pursuit of culinary beauty, even in its most basic form, is a performance for the elite, while the reality of practical survival for the laborers is far less refined. As you finish arranging the tray, the Caucus approaches, his eyes sharp and discerning, sweeping over your arrangement. He adjusts a fig, straightens the cup. Good. Now take it to the cubiculum, he grunts, a rare sign of approval, and be swift. The master's hunger waits for no man, or slave. You lift the heavy tray, balancing it carefully as you navigate your way out of the bustling culina and back into the more orderly passages of the domas. The scent of the food, so tantalizing just moments ago, now becomes a burden, a reminder of the chasm between your world and your master's. You are the conduit, the bearer of sustenance, but not its partaker. You return to the quiet, hushed corridors, the sounds of the kitchen fading behind you like a distant dream. The domus once again assumes its air of serene, aristocratic dignity. You approach the master's cubiculum, where he will now be conducting his private affairs, perhaps reading a scroll or dictating letters to his librarius, another slave, highly educated, whose hidden wisdom lies in his literacy and knowledge of rhetoric. You knock softly on the door, a deferential tap that signifies your presence without presuming to intrude. A muffled voice bids you enter. You push the door open, gently with your foot, ensuring the tray remains steady, and step inside. The room is brighter now, sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the rich frescoes on the walls, the luxurious furnishings. The master sits on a comfortable couch, a wax tablet in his hand, a stylus poised. He glances up, his expression unreadable, then dismisses you with a wave of his hand. You place the tray carefully on a small table beside him, ensuring everything is within easy reach. You do not speak, do not make eye contact. Your role is simply to present and withdraw. As you turn to leave, you catch a glimpse of the master picking up a fig, his movements languid, unhurried. For him, breakfast is a moment of quiet indulgence. For you, it was a practical task, a brief interlude in the relentless demands of the day. You step back into the corridor, the door closing softly behind you. Your hands, though empty of the tray, still carry the faint scent of figs and cheese. The next set of tasks awaits, perhaps cleaning the peristylium, the inner courtyard garden, or tending to the household's stores. The rhythm of your day is an unbroken chain of duties, each linked to the last, stretching from the chill of pre-dawn to the deep slumber of night. And in each task, no matter how menial, there is a hidden element of human resilience, a practical solution to the persistent challenges of daily life. You are a cog in a vast machine, yes, but a cog that constantly adapts, observes, and, in its own silent way, understands. You step out of the master's private quarters, the faint scent of figs and cheese still clinging to your hands, a ghost of a meal you merely served. The hushed corridor, now bathed in the gentle, filtering light of the mid-morning sun, stretches before you. Your next task, though unvoiced, is already clear in your mind. The peristylium, this inner courtyard, often the most beautiful and tranquil part of a Roman domus, requires constant care, a living testament to the master's wealth and refined taste. As you approach the peristylium, the air shifts, growing cooler, imbued with the earthy fragrance of damp soil and blooming flora. The sounds of the bustling city fade, replaced by the gentle murmur of water from the central fountain and the faint rustle of leaves. This is meant to be a sanctuary, a private Eden carved out of the urban sprawl, a place where the master and his guests can stroll, converse, and reflect, shielded from the harsh realities outside. Yet, for you, it is another arena of labor, a space where the pursuit of beauty demands unyielding physical effort. You fetch your tools from a small, discreet storage alcove, a coarse broom made of stiff bristles, a small, worn hand trowel, and a large, empty basket woven from reeds. The mosaic pathways that surround the garden, often adorned with intricate patterns or scenes of mythical beasts, must be swept clean of every fallen leaf, every speck of dust, every stray pebble. It is a meticulous, almost meditative task, one that requires patience and precision. You begin, your movements rhythmic, the scrape of the broom against the stone a soft counterpoint to the splashing fountain. As you sweep, you observe the garden. Vines, heavy with the promise of grapes, cling to trellises, their leaves a vibrant green. Rows of meticulously pruned roses display their velvety petals in shades of crimson and white, their fragrance sweet and intoxicating in the morning air. Small statues of gods and nymphs, weathered by time and elements, peek out from amidst the foliage. This miniature landscape, a deliberate echo of the wild, untamed beauty of nature, is, in truth, an entirely man-made creation, meticulously shaped and maintained. And that maintenance, you know, falls primarily to you and a few other designated garden slaves. The HORTLANI. The task is not merely about sweeping. It is about weeding, about watering, about pruning back rebellious branches that threaten to disrupt the carefully cultivated order. You kneel, your knees pressing against the cool, damp earth, and begin to pluck out the persistent weeds that sprout between the flagstones, their roots surprisingly tenacious. Each weed is a small act of defiance against the human desire for control, a reminder that even in the most manicured of spaces, nature seeks to reclaim its own. You deposit them into your basket, along with fallen petals and withered leaves. It is a subtle humor, perhaps, in the human quest for perfection, that it so often involves the constant battle against the relentless, messy reality of life. The irrigation system, though simple, requires attention. The central fountain, fed by pipes from a nearby aqueduct or a cistern, provides water not just for its aesthetic appeal, but for the lifeblood of the garden itself. You ensure the small channels that direct water to the thirsty roots of the plants are clear, diverting the flow with small stones or earthen dams. It is a practical application of hydraulics, an ancient engineering marvel that, in its smaller scale, demonstrates human ingenuity in harnessing nature for its own purposes. You are not a scholar of engineering, but your hands know the principles: the flow of water, the tilt of the land, the thirsty demands of a parched plant. This is another form of hidden wisdom, born not of books, but of direct interaction with the elements. Sometimes, as you work, the Demeanor or her daughters will take a morning stroll through the peristylium, their silken robes rustling softly against the leaves. They will admire a particularly vibrant bloom, perhaps pluck a flower to adorn their hair, or discuss the merits of a new statue. You become a part of the landscape, a silent, almost invisible presence. They speak of beauty, of tranquility, of the philosophical contemplation that such a garden inspires. You, however, are keenly aware of the sweat on your brow, the ache in your back, the calluses on your hands, the very real labor that underpins their serene enjoyment. Can true beauty exist without the unseen burden of effort? You often wonder. The silence of the peristylium allows for a different kind of reflection than the bustling atrium or the raucous culina. Here, amidst the growing things, you consider the cyclical nature of life. Plants grow, bloom, wither, and die, only to renew themselves. The garden must be constantly maintained, a perpetual struggle against decay and disorder. Is human life, too, such a cycle? A constant tending, a never-ending series of tasks, from birth to death. And does the pursuit of status, of power, of beauty, merely serve to distract from this fundamental, cyclical truth? As the sun climbs higher, casting sharper shadows across the mosaic paths, the warmth becomes more pronounced. You feel the familiar burn in your shoulders, the slight tremor in your hands from repeated bending and lifting. Your body is a tool, a vessel for labor, and you treat it with the pragmatic care of a craftsman tending to his most valuable implement. You drink deeply from a communal water jug, its contents cool and refreshing, a simple pleasure that sustains you. You move to the ornamental fish pond in the center of the peristylium. It must be kept clear of algae and debris, its surface pristine to reflect the sky. You scoop out floating leaves with a small net, watching the flashes of color as the fish dart away. This, too, is part of the aesthetic, a living ornament. The water, clear and shimmering, mirrors the blue sky above, a fleeting, perfect image. And for a moment, just a moment, you allow yourself to appreciate this beauty, detached from the labor it requires. It is a moment of pure observation, a quiet internal acknowledgement of something lovely. By the time you finish your work in the peristylium, the sun is nearing its zenith, casting harsh, direct light into the open courtyard. The garden is immaculate, every leaf in its place, every path swept clean, the air still fragrant with flowers. You stand for a moment, surveying your handiwork. It is a small satisfaction, the quiet pride of a task well done. Even if that task serves only another's pleasure, you know that by tomorrow, or even later today, leaves will fall again, weeds will sprout anew, and the cycle will begin once more. But for now, there is order. Your thoughts turn to the midday meal, the prondium. For the master, it will be a light repast, perhaps the leftovers from last night's feast, or simple bread and cheese. For you, it will be the common fare of the slaves. A meager portion of pulse, a thick grain porridge, perhaps with a few lentils or a piece of stale bread. It is sustenance, nothing more, a practical solution to hunger, devoid of the aesthetic considerations that govern the master's plate. You collect your tools, your body already anticipating the next demand, the next set of challenges, the subtle, ceaseless hum of a life lived in service. You are a keeper of order, a silent engine, driving the luxurious machine of the Roman elite, and in that there is a strange, quiet power. Having returned your tools to their designated alcove, the peristylium now a gleaming testament to your silent labor, your internal clock signals the approach of prondium. For the master, this midday meal is often a light affair, perhaps a continuation of last night's culinary successes, enjoyed in the quiet solitude of his study or a small dining chamber. For you, and the countless other slaves of Rome, prondium is less a meal and more a functional refueling, a brief, necessary pause in the relentless churn of the day. You make your way towards the communal eating area, usually a simple, unadorned space near the kitchen or perhaps a designated corner of a larger storeroom. The air here is less refined than the atrium, less fragrant than the peristylium, carrying the heavier, earthier scents of grain, sweat, and simmering pulses. The sounds are different too, not the hushed murmurs of clients or the gentle splash of a fountain, but the clatter of earthenware bowls, the occasional low grumble of conversation, and the rhythmic chewing of many mouths. This is where the hierarchy of the domos momentarily blurs, or rather reconfigures itself. While the overarching master-slave dynamic remains immutable among the slaves themselves, subtle distinctions emerge. The coquus, the velicus, the vestiarius clothes manager, or the dispensator steward might receive slightly larger portions, or perhaps a more palatable cut of whatever meager meat is available. But for the majority, like you, the fare is uniform in its simplicity. You join a queue, holding out your wooden bowl, chipped and worn smooth from countless meals. The slave serving ladles out a generous portion of pulse, a thick, rudimentary porridge made from boiled grains, often millet or spelt. Sometimes, if the household is feeling particularly generous, or if there are an abundance of cheap vegetables, a few lentils or a handful of chopped onions might be stirred in. Today, it is plain, its aroma bland but undeniably wholesome. Alongside it, you receive a piece of dry, coarse bread, still harder than the morning's scrap, meant more for chewing strength than flavor. There is no ceremony, no elaborate seating arrangements. You find a spot on a low bench or simply squat against a cool wall, joining a cluster of other slaves. The silence that often pervades the domos when the master is present gives way to a low hum of chatter, sometimes even a burst of muted laughter. These are fleeting moments of camaraderie, shared in the brief respite from oversight. You might exchange a few words with a fellow slave from the stables, or a laundry girl, discussing the severity of the Vilicus's mood, the likelihood of an extra ration, or simply the weather. These are the small, practical details of shared existence, the hidden wisdom of collective survival. You eat quickly, efficiently. There is no savoring, no lingering over flavors. The goal is simply to fill the gnawing void in your stomach, to provide your body with the energy it needs to continue. The pulse is warm, comforting in its blandness, and the bread, though tough, provides a satisfying resistance to your teeth. You chew slowly, deliberately, ensuring every mouthful is thoroughly processed, extracting maximum sustenance. This is practical survival at its most elemental. The conversion of basic provisions into raw energy. Hygiene, in this setting, is rudimentary. Hands are wiped on tunics, or given a quick rinse in a shared basin of water, often cloudy with previous use. There are no individual towels, no perfumed soaps. Cleanliness is a practical concern, a defense against disease, rather than an aesthetic pursuit. You are aware of the grime under your fingernails, the faint scent of sweat on your skin, but these are constant companions, an indelible part of your existence. The midday break is notoriously short. It is enough time to eat, to visit the communal latrine if necessary, and perhaps to share a few quiet words. But it is not a time for true rest, for deep contemplation, or for escaping the ever-present demands of the domos. The villicus will make his rounds, his sharp eyes scanning for idleness, for lingering, the moments of shared humanity, the brief glimpses of individual personality, must be carefully managed, kept beneath the surface, lest they be misconstrued as insubordination. You finish your meal, scraping the last remnants of pulls from your bowl with your finger. Your hunger is dulled, not extinguished, but sufficient. You feel the slow spread of warmth through your body, a practical outcome of simple calories. You think, briefly, of the master's elaborate dinners, the rich sauces, the delicate pastries, the exotic wines, so much abundance, so much excess, built upon a foundation of such stark simplicity. What truly sustains a human being? Is it the elaborate feasts, the pursuit of exquisite flavors, or merely the steady intake of basic sustenance, enough to fuel the body for another day of labor? The answer, for you, is clear and unromantic. The prandium concludes as abruptly as it began. Bowls are collected, stacked for a perfunctory wash later. The low hum of conversation fades as slaves disperse, each drawn back to their assigned duties. For you, the afternoon holds a variety of possibilities, none of them leisurely. Perhaps the master requires assistance with his afternoon studies, meaning hours spent retrieving and reshelving heavy scrolls in the bibliotheca. Or perhaps it is time for the weekly cleaning of the family's extensive wardrobe, a task requiring careful handling of delicate fabrics and intricate fastenings. Or, most demanding of all, a trip to the bustling Roman Forum for errands, navigating the chaotic streets, braving the throngs of citizens, vendors, and other slaves. You wipe your mouth one last time, a final, almost unconscious gesture, and rise. The brief respite is over. Your body, though sated for now, remains taut with the expectation of the next command. You are a human vessel, refueled and ready, an instrument poised to resume its function in the grand, ceaseless mechanism of the Roman household. The hidden wisdom of endurance, you know, lies not in grand gestures, but in these countless small acts of persistence, in the unwavering dedication to the next task, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. The fleeting pause of Prondrum concludes, and with it, the brief, communal solace. Your body, now marginally replenished, stands ready for the next command, the next demand on its silent service. As if summoned by an unspoken signal, the villicus appears, his presence a sudden tightening in the air. He carries a small, elegantly crafted wooden box, no larger than a man's hand, sealed with a delicate wax impression. Its weight, though light, suggests something of value within. You, he states, his voice clipped and precise, his gaze sweeping over you with practiced assessment. Take this to the house of Gaius Cornelius at the Subura. Deliver it only to him or his trusted dispensator, no one else, and be swift. The master expects its swift return. a familiar, not titans in your stomach. An errand outside the domus always carries an elevated risk. The sheltered, predictable environment of the household, though restrictive, offers a certain kind of security. The streets of Rome, however, are a swirling vortex of unpredictable humanity. A dangerous tapestry woven with threads of opportunity, desperation, and chaos. But you accept the task with an impassive nod, your face betraying none of the underlying apprehension. You are handed the box. Its smooth, polished surface feels cool beneath your fingers. The wax seal, bearing the master's signet, is a tiny, fragile shield against intrusion. This is a subtle lesson in security, not merely the strength of locks, but the integrity of a sealed message, the trust placed in an unfree hand. You are given no guard, no escort. Your only protection is your inconspicuousness, your speed, and the tacit understanding that any failure in this mission will result in severe consequence. This is your hidden wisdom in the urban jungle. To move like water, to be seen without truly being noticed. To blend into the relentless surge of humanity. Stepping out of the domos and onto the vicus. The narrow street is like plunging into a frigid river after a warm bath. The air instantly assaults your senses. The acrid stench of human waste mingled with the sweet perfume of fruit from a passing vendor's cart. The earthy smell of damp cobblestones and the ever-present odor of smoke and sweat. The quietude of the domus is instantly shattered by a cacophony of sound. The rhythmic clang of a blacksmith's hammer. The raucous shouts of merchants hawking their wares. The insistent braying of donkeys pulling overloaded carts, and the ceaseless murmur of hundreds, thousands of voices. That you are immediately swallowed by the throng. Roman streets, unlike the orderly avenues of modern cities, are a chaotic ballet of humanity and animal traffic. Pedestrians jostle for space with slow-moving ox carts laden with goods, sedan chairs carried by straining slaves, and the occasional haughty litter bearing a wealthy matron. The ground underfoot is uneven, a patchwork of worn cobblestones, discarded refuse, and puddles of dubious origin. You learn to navigate this urban labyrinth with an almost instinctual awareness, your eyes constantly scanning, your body fluidly adapting to the ebb and flow of the crowd. A.D. Philosophical question bubbles to the surface of your awareness. Is this chaos a truer reflection of freedom than the ordered confines of the domos? Here bodies press against each other, voices compete, and movement is often obstructed. Yet, within this apparent anarchy, each individual seems to pursue their own immediate goal, driven by their own will. For you, however, even amidst this boundless energy, your will is still bound, your movements dictated by the demands of the master. You are a ship navigating a storm, but your destination is not your own. You clutch the small wooden box firmly, but subtly, keeping it close to your body, hidden beneath the folds of your tunic. Theft is a constant threat in Rome's crowded thoroughfares. Pickpockets, desperate citizens, and even other slaves might seize an opportunity. Your security depends not on locks, but on vigilance, on blending in, on avoiding drawing any undue attention. It is a practical solution to a pervasive danger. Invisibility is your best defense. As you near the forum, the crowds thicken, and the architecture grows more imposing. The noise level swells to a roar. You pass towering insulae, multi-storied apartment buildings crammed with the city's poor, their laundry strung between windows like colorful banners. You glimpse small tabernae shops and stalls spilling out onto the street, offering everything from fresh bread to cheap wine, from woven baskets to imported spices. Life spills out into the public space. raw and unvarnished. Finally, you emerge into the vast, sprawling expanse of the Roman Forum, the beating heart of the city. It is a breathtaking spectacle, a monumental stage where the drama of Roman power, commerce, and daily life unfolds. Grand temples with their gleaming marble columns pierce the sky. Monuments to gods and emperors stand silent vigil, and the air crackles with the energy of thousands of people engaged in a dizzying array of activities. Senators in pristine togas stride purposefully, surrounded by their retinues of clients and bodyguards. Orators harangue crowds from the rostra, their voices echoing off the ancient stones. Merchants haggle loudly over prices, their wares spread on makeshift stalls. Scribes, hunched over wax tablets, take dictation. Beggars, their faces etched with hunger, hold out their hands, and everywhere, like you, are other slaves, performing their myriad duties, carrying messages, guarding baggage, fetching provisions, moving through the grand spaces with the same practiced invisibility. You navigate the Forum's labyrinthine paths, your eyes scanning for the landmarks that will guide you to the house of Gaius Cornelius, a prominent domos known for its distinctive bronze doorknockers in the shape of lions' heads. You weave through groups of idlers, avoid the splash of water from the nearby fountains, and sidestep the piles of rubbish that collect in less trafficked corners. Your mind, though constantly observing, is focused on the singular purpose of your mission. Deliver the box, return safely. The house of Gaius Cornelius is a short distance from the Forum, situated on a quieter street, a testament to his wealth and desire for a degree of remove from the maddening crowd. You approach the distinctive bronze lion heads, polished to a dull sheen, and rap softly. The heavy wooden door swings open, revealing an Ostiarius, a slave like yourself, but clearly of higher standing, judging by the quality of his tunic and the air of bored authority about him. You state your purpose, offering the name of your master and the sealed box. The Ostiarius examines the wax seal with a critical eye, then nods curtly, a silent acknowledgement of the master's mark. Wait here, he commands, and disappears into the depths of the domus. You stand on the threshold, neither fully inside nor fully outside, a liminal figure suspended between two worlds. The minutes stretch, punctuated only by the distant hum of the Forum and the occasional passing cart. You are vulnerable here, exposed. Your only defense, the authority of the object you have delivered and the implied power of your master. It is a quiet, tense, waiting game. Finally, the Ostiarius returns, accompanied by a man of stern countenance, clearly the dispensator. He ticks the box, breaking the wax seal with a decisive snap, and opens it, glancing briefly at its contents before nodding in satisfaction. He hands you a small, rolled-up papyrus scroll, also sealed, presumably a reply for your master. For your dominus, he says, his voice flat, and be quick about it. You take the scroll, bowing slightly, and turn to re-enter the chaotic world of the Roman streets. The exchange was swift, impersonal, and efficient. No pleasantries, no acknowledgement of the journey, merely the transaction. It is the practical nature of Roman communication, stripped of unnecessary ornamentation. You now carry a different kind of burden, a different kind of hidden wisdom, the knowledge of a message delivered, a mission accomplished. The journey back promises to be as arduous as the journey there, but now there is the added pressure of successful completion, the silent expectation of your master's waiting mind. You re-enter the flow of the Forum, your purpose renewed, your senses heightened, a small, indispensable cog in the vast, relentless machinery of Rome. You re-enter the vibrant maelstrom of the forum, the sealed scroll clutched carefully in your hand, its weight surprisingly light, yet burdened with the unspoken significance of its contents. The journey back, though traversing the same familiar streets, feels different. The sun, now past its zenith, casts longer, softer shadows across the grand colonnades and bustling thoroughfares. The light, however, does little to soften the relentless energy of the city. If anything, the midday heat has intensified the clamor, drawing more people out, intensifying the smells, and quickening the pace of life. Your senses, already heightened by the inherent dangers of the Roman streets, are now hyper-aware of the scroll. It is not merely a piece of papyrus. It is information, a secret, a fragment of power. You cannot read the elegant Latin script, cannot decipher the intricate thoughts inked upon its surface, yet you understand its value. Hidden wisdom, you reflect, often travels in such unassuming forms, carried by unseen hands. Who truly commands the knowledge? The one who writes it, the one who reads it, or the one who safely conveys it through a world fraught with peril? You are the indispensable link, the silent guardian of secrets you do not comprehend. This is your practical function, to bridge the gap between minds, an unthinking conduit for the flow of influence. You move with a renewed sense of purpose, your eyes constantly scanning the shifting human landscape. The forum, with its grand temples and majestic statues, now seems less a monument to glory and more a stage for human ambition and desperation. You notice a group of men gathered around a street vendor, their voices hushed, their expressions furtive. One of them gestures subtly, discreetly, towards a small vial concealed within his palm. You catch a fleeting glimpse of dark liquid, perhaps a concentrated dye or a potent perfume, but your mind, ever vigilant for threats to your master's interests, immediately registers a deeper, more insidious possibility. Poison. The thought, though unconfirmed, sends a shiver down your spine. Poison, you know, is the silent weapon of choice in the shadows of power, a tool favored by those who seek to avoid the messy publicity of a sword or the outright challenge of open conflict. It is a secret art, a hidden knowledge, and its prevalence in Rome's underbelly is an open secret among those who serve the elite. You have heard whispers, seen the subtle shifts in household dynamics when a rival suddenly falls ill, when an enemy abruptly ceases to be a threat. The elegant ease with which such dark deeds are accomplished contrasts sharply with the mundane, back-breaking labor of your own existence. This sardonic observation, born of your proximity to power, offers a grim understanding of the lengths to which humans will go for control. You instinctively quicken your pace, a subtle shift in your gait as you try to put distance between yourself and the group. Your focus narrows to the path ahead, your peripheral vision sharpened. The scroll, though physically light, feels heavy with its unspoken implications. Its security is paramount, not just from theft, but from any form of interference. The security of information, you realize, is often more vital than the security of gold. A lock can be picked, a strongbox forced, but a secret once revealed, a message intercepted, can unravel an entire web of power. The streets leading away from the forum are less crowded now, the intense midday activity beginning to wane as some citizens retreat for their siesta. The air is still warm, heavy with dust. You pass the familiar tabernae, their proprietors now less boisterous, some already beginning to pack away their wares. A street sweeper, another slave, diligently plies his broom, pushing mounds of refuse to the side of the road. a Sisyphean task that mirrors your own endless cycle of cleaning. You offer a silent nod of acknowledgement, a shared understanding between fellow laborers in the vast, unceasing machinery of Rome. Your legs ache, and your feet, accustomed to the hard surfaces, feel bruised from the uneven cobblestones and the constant impact of walking. Fatigue, that constant companion, begins to assert its presence. Yet, you push it down, a practical solution to the body's protests. The master's demands outweigh your discomfort. Resilience, you have learned, is not just a virtue. It is the very breath of your existence. As you draw closer to your domus, the familiar scent of the neighborhood, a unique blend of wood smoke, old stone, and the faint, sweet smell of a nearby bakery, signals your return. The sight of your master's impressive oak door, once a symbol of the very walls that contain your freedom, now represents a different kind of sanctuary. It is a return to the known, to the predictable, to the albeit rigorous order of the household. You rap softly on the heavy door, the sound echoing dully in the late afternoon quiet. The osterius, the doorkeeper, opens it, his face impassive. He recognizes you, of course, and the official nature of your return. You step inside, the sudden drop in the city's cacophony replaced by the familiar hush of the atrium. The transition is abrupt, almost jarring. The grand space, which moments ago was alive with the memory of the salutation, now feels vast and empty, waiting. You proceed directly to the tablinum, where you expect to find your master. You knock softly, awaiting permission to enter. The command comes clear and concise. You step inside, approaching the master with the sealed scroll held out, a silent offering of successful completion. He takes it without a word, his eyes already scanning the wax seal, ensuring its integrity. With a swift movement, he breaks the seal and unrolls the papyrus, his gaze immediately falling upon the script. His brow furrows slightly, a subtle shift that you, the keen observer, immediately register. Whatever the message contains, it is clearly of import. He dismisses you with a wave of his hand. His attention now fully consumed by the words on the scroll, you turn and leave, the door closing softly behind you. Your mission is complete. The hidden wisdom, the secret knowledge contained within the scroll, has passed through your hands, yet remains entirely beyond your comprehension. You are merely the vessel as you walk back through the domos, the familiar sounds of the household resuming their rhythm, the clatter from the kitchen, the distant voices of the ancilla. You feel the exhaustion settle deeper into your bones. The afternoon stretches before you, filled with the promise of more mundane, yet ceaseless, labor. Perhaps the cleaning of the inner sanctum of the household, or assisting the vestiarius with the master's elaborate wardrobe. The subtle, deadly roll of poison, a fleeting thought on the streets, now fades into the background, replaced by the immediate, practical demands of your existence. You are a silent observer of the powerful, a vital, unseen component of their world, and your story is written not in ink, but in the enduring spirit of your daily survival. The scroll delivered the brief, intense interlude of the outside world, now a distant echo. You find yourself once more absorbed into the methodical hum of the domus. The master's attention, consumed by the message, has already shifted, and, with it, your immediate purpose. The exhaustion, held at bay during your critical errand, now settles deeper into your bones, a familiar weight. Yet, there is no time for indulgence in fatigue. The Roman day, like an insatiable beast, demands constant feeding. Your next assignment, communicated not by explicit command, but by the presence of the vestarius. The master's clothing manager is clear. He stands by the entrance to a large, climate-controlled room, the vestiarium, a place of silks, fine linens, and the weighty dignity of the Roman toga. The air here is subtly different, perfumed faintly with cedar and lavender. A world away from the earthy smells of the garden or the acrid temps of the kitchen. The vestiarius is a slave of considerable importance, often a trusted freedman whose hidden wisdom lies in his encyclopedic knowledge of fabrics, dyes, and the intricate, unspoken rules of Roman fashion. He knows which toga is worn for a senatorial debate, which tunic for a private feast, which cloak for a ceremonial procession. He is the curator of the master's public image, a silent co-conspirator in the pursuit of beauty and status. He gestures for you to enter, his expression one of weary authority. His eyes, though they see you, also seem to look through you, already calculating the day's tasks, the delicate handling required for such precious garments. The vestiarium itself is a marvel of practical ingenuity. Large wooden chests, their surfaces polished to a rich gleam, line the walls. Some are secured with complex bronze locks, their mechanisms a testament to the importance of what they contain. For a Roman citizen, clothing is not merely covering, it is an extension of their wealth, their influence, their very identity. To protect these garments is to protect the master's standing. You observe the locks, noting their intricate designs, a silent appreciation for the art of security, even on something as seemingly mundane as a clothes chest. Your task is not one of design or selection, but of meticulous, painstaking maintenance. The clothes, particularly the voluminous togas, are not merely folded but draped, smoothed, and carefully stored to prevent creases. The fine linens, brought back from Alexandria or Damascus, require delicate handling. Woolen cloaks, despite their rough appearance, must be brushed free of dust and moths. It is a constant battle against the depredations of time, insects, and the very act of wear. You begin with the master's everyday tunics, simpler garments of fine wool or linen. You take them one by one, shaking them out vigorously to remove dust, then carefully laying them flat on a large, clean wooden table. With a damp, soft cloth, you gently wipe away any surface grime, careful not to rub too hard or distort the weave. For deeper stains, you use a mixture of fullers, earth, and urine, a common, if unpleasant, Roman cleansing agent, scrubbing painstakingly before rinsing and allowing the garment to dry on a specially constructed wooden frame. The strong, acrid smell of the urine is a constant companion in this work, a stark contrast to the luxurious fabrics it cleans. This is the practical reality behind the perfumed elegance of the elite. The togas are a particular challenge. These vast, semicircular garments, often several meters long and weighing many pounds, are a symbol of Roman citizenship and status. Their elegant drapes and folds are not accidental. They require careful arrangement. You, under the watchful eye of the vestiarius, learn the precise art of folding and draping a toga, ensuring it maintains its perfect form. Each pleat, each curve, must be just so, a sartorial performance for the next public appearance. It is a physical act of embodying the master's public persona, a hidden wisdom in the manipulation of fabric and form. As you work, you consider the human vanity, the societal imperative to present a flawless outward appearance. So much time, so much labor devoted to the mere covering of the body. You, in your simple, patched tunic, are the antithesis of this elaborate display. Your clothing serves only function, warmth, modesty, and the identification of your status. Their clothing is a statement. A carefully curated art form is the pursuit of beauty. You wonder, truly an elevation of the human spirit, or merely another gilded cage, trapping both the wearer and those who labor to maintain the illusion? The vestiarius, meanwhile, moves among the chests, his movements precise and deliberate. He might check for moth infestations, carefully placing small pouches of dried herbs, lavender, wormwood, among the garments. He notes the condition of the master's footwear, his rings, his ceremonial belts. He is a guardian of the master's external identity, a silent architect of his public performance. You notice the care he takes with a particularly ornate senatorial toga, its pristine white wool folded and pressed with almost reverential care. It is a garment of immense symbolic power, and its maintenance is treated with appropriate gravity. The afternoon wears on. The light through the small window of the vestiarium dims slightly, signaling the approach of late afternoon. Your hands, though skilled, feel the repetitive strain. The air grows warmer, heavy with the subtle scent of cleaned fabric and the lingering aroma of the cleaning agents. The endless cycle of maintenance continues, a testament to human ingenuity in preserving perishable beauty against the ravages of time. You move to a chest that contains the master's more personal effects, small jewelry, cosmetic containers, perhaps a hidden pouch of coins. These, too, must be checked, cleaned, and secured. You handle a small, intricately carved wooden box, its surface worn smooth by countless touches. It is secured with a small, but robust, brass lock. You do not have the key, of course, nor would you ever attempt to open it. Your role is simply to ensure its external cleanliness, its undisturbed security. But you are aware of the hidden contents, the secrets it might hold, the unspoken value locked within. It is a reminder that even in the most personal of spaces, security is a constant concern, and hidden wisdom often lies behind a locked facade as the shadows lengthen. Signaling the transition towards the evening, you finish your work in the vestiarium. The clothing is pristine, the chests neatly arranged, the subtle scent of cleanliness lingering in the air. You bow your head to the vestiarius, who nods in quiet acknowledgement. Another task completed, another aspect of the master's world meticulously maintained. You step out of the vestiarium, leaving behind the perfumed elegance and returning to the more immediate, primal demands of the domos. The thought of food begins to assert itself again, a deeper, more insistent gnawing than the midday hunger. Soon, the evening meal, the cena, will begin its slow, elaborate preparation, and with it, another round of intense, coordinated labor. Your day, an endless tapestry of practical challenges and hidden observations, continues its relentless weave towards dusk. As you step out of the perfumed quiet of the vestiarium, the domos around you begins to thrum with a new, urgent energy. The sun, now a vast, smouldering orb dipping towards the western horizon, casts long, distorted shadows through the atrium, hinting at the approaching twilight. This is the hour of the cena, the evening meal, the most important social event of the Roman day, and for the household staff, the most demanding. Your stomach, hollowed by a day of relentless labor and sustained only by the meager, growls with a deeper, more insistent hunger. You gravitate naturally towards the kalina, the kitchen, which by now has transformed from its midday hum to a roaring inferno of activity. The air here is thick, hot, and alive with the overlapping scents of roasting meats, simmering sauces, fresh herbs, and the pungent, unmistakable aroma of garum. The clang of pots and pans, the hiss of fat spitting into flames, the sharp, rhythmic chop of knives against wooden boards, all blend into a chaotic symphony that speaks of intense, coordinated effort. The Coquus, the master of this fiery domain, moves with a whirlwind of motion, his face flushed with heat and exertion, his voice now a constant, booming command. He is a general on the battlefield of flavor, directing his legion of kitchen slaves with an unwavering focus. You observe the precise choreography. One slave stoking the fires, another plucking a fowl with practiced speed, a third meticulously dicing vegetables, their hands moving with astonishing dexterity. This is human ingenuity applied to the most primal of needs, sustenance, elevated into a complex art form. How, you wonder, do they manage to create such delicate flavors from such rudimentary tools over open flames? It is a hidden wisdom passed down through generations, not in books, but in the muscle memory of countless cooks. Your role in this evening's culinary ballet is varied, fluid, and relentlessly physical. You might be dispatched to the storeroom to retrieve amphorae of precious olive oil, jars of imported spices, or sacks of the finest flour. The storeroom itself, cool and dark, is another kind of treasure trove. Its shelves laden with the bounty of the Roman world, dried fruits from Africa, cheeses from Gaul, cured meats from distant provinces. Each item represents a journey, a network of trade and power that culminates in the master's lavish spread. You navigate its labyrinthine aisles, your torch casting dancing shadows, your knowledge of its layout as precise as any lockpicker's understanding of a mechanism. You might then find yourself grinding herbs in a mortar and pestle, the rhythmic thud a dull ache in your forearms, releasing fragrant clouds of thyme, rosemary, or exotic saffron. Or you might be tasked with cleaning an endless stream of silver serving dishes, polishing them until they gleam, reflecting the flickering lamplight with dazzling precision. The pursuit of beauty, in the context of the Senna, is not just about the taste of the food, but its presentation. The glint of polished silver, the vibrant colors of garnishes, the artful arrangement of dishes, all contribute to the visual feast, a testament to the master's status and sophisticated taste. You see a younger slave, barely more than a boy, struggling with a heavy basket of fresh fish, their scales still shimmering. The Coquist barks at him, urging him to greater speed. The pressure in the kitchen is immense, a tangible force. Any delay, any mistake, could spoil the delicate timing of the meal, reflecting poorly on the master's hospitality. The consequences, for a slave, would be severe. This constant threat, though rarely spoken aloud, hangs in the smoky air, an invisible whip urging every hand to greater speed and precision. You glimpse the Venator, the hunter-slave, returning from the master's country estate, his face grimed with travel, carrying a brace of plump pheasants, their feathers iridescent. These fresh ingredients, often exotic and expensive, are further proof of the master's wealth and connections. They represent the vast network of resources that converge upon this single Roman household, all to culminate in an ephemeral feast. It is a sardonic observation. So much effort, so much life, dedicated to a pleasure that vanishes in a few hours. The heat from the hearth is relentless, particularly now as multiple dishes are simultaneously cooked, roasted, and simmered. Sweat beads on your brow, stinging your eyes. Your tunic clings uncomfortably to your back, but you learn to ignore it, to push past the discomfort. This is the practical solution to working in such an environment. Resilience, endurance, the ability to focus amidst sensory overload. You assist in preparing the gustatio, the appetizer course, small, intricate dishes of olives, eggs, mushrooms, and perhaps some delicate fish fritters. Each component requires meticulous preparation, small culinary jewels to awaken the palate. You witness the coquist taste a sauce, his brow furrowed in concentration, adjusting the seasoning with a pinch of salt or a splash of vinegar. His palate, his knowledge of flavors, is his hidden wisdom, his specialized skill that elevates him above common laborers. As the first course begins to take shape, you hear the distant sounds of guests beginning to arrive in the atrium, their voices and laughter echoing faintly through the domos. The cena is not just about eating. It is a theatrical performance. The guests, bedecked in their finest clothing, will recline on the elegant dining couches in the triclinium, engaging in witty conversation, political maneuvering, and perhaps even subtle flirtations. And you, and hundreds like you, are the invisible stagehands, the unseen chorus, making the entire spectacle possible. The pressure mounts. The coquus is now issuing a flurry of final instructions, his voice sharp with urgency. The ministrators, the serving slaves, are beginning to line up, ready to carry the finished dishes from the inferno of the kitchen to the cool elegance of the triclinium. Their uniforms, though simple tunics, are clean and pressed, their demeanor rehearsed and serene. They embody the contrast between the raw labor of the kitchen and the refined presentation in the dining room. You watch as the first platters, laden with the gustatio, are lifted, their aromas wafting enticingly through the kitchen. The scent is intoxicating, a cruel reminder of the bounty that is not for you, yet you find a strange satisfaction in the precision of the process, the flawless execution of a complex operation. It is a pride in human ingenuity, even when that ingenuity serves only another's pleasure. Your stomach rumbles again, a deep, resonant protest. The cena has begun for the master and his guests, but for you, the work is only just intensifying, a relentless pursuit of perfection fueled by the knowledge that your own meager meal will only come much, much later, if at all. This is the grim reality of service, to create abundance for others while existing on the fringes of scarcity. The first, tantalizing aromas of the gustatio drift from the kitchen, carried on the shoulders of the ministrators, the serving slaves, who move with a practiced, almost balletic grace. For a moment you watch them go, their clean tunics, a stark contrast to your own sweat-stained one, their composed faces betraying none of the frantic energy that consumes the kalina. Then it is your turn. You are not among the primary ministrators, but a supporting hand, a fetcher, a pourer, a silent presence who anticipates needs before they are voiced. You quickly clean your hands in a basin of relatively fresh water, smoothing your tunic as best you can. Your outward appearance, even in a supporting role, must be immaculate, a reflection of the household's meticulous standards. You step out of the roaring heat of the kitchen and into the cooler, perfumed air of the triclinium, the master's grand dining room. The transformation is immediate and striking. The triclinium is bathed in the soft, flickering glow of hundreds of oil lamps and ornate candelabra, casting a warm, golden light that dances across the vibrant frescoes on the walls. The air, heavy with the scent of roasted meats, exotic spices, and expensive perfumes, hums with the low murmur of conversation and the occasional burst of polite laughter. Guests, reclined on luxurious dining couches, their bodies draped in richly colored togas and stolas, present a tableau of opulent leisure. You move among them, a ghost in plain sight, your bare feet silent on the cool mosaic floor, your eyes, trained to observe without seeming to look, take in every detail. The master, the dominus, presides over the central couch, his face animated, his gestures expansive as he engages his most important guests. He is the consummate host, his hospitality, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to reinforce his status, his generosity, and his political acumen. He laughs at a guest's joke, offers a witty retort, or directs a servant with a subtle flick of his wrist. The guests, in turn, play their roles, flattering the host, engaging in animated discussions about philosophy, politics, or the latest gladiatorial games. You hear fragments of their conversations, a mosaic of Roman life unfolding before you, whispers of alliances formed, rivalries simmering beneath polite smiles, the delicate dance of social ambition. This is your hidden wisdom, gleaned from the silent observation of power dynamics, a detailed understanding of the human drama played out nightly in these opulent halls. You see the strained smiles, the eyes that dart nervously, the hands that clench imperceptibly beneath the lavish drapes of their couches. Your first task is to ensure wine goblets are never empty. You approach a guest, a wealthy senator known for his notoriously bad temper, his face already flushed with drink. You carefully pour the red wine, diluted with water as is the Roman custom, ensuring the stream is steady, the goblet filled precisely. As you serve him, you notice a small, almost imperceptible tremor in his hand, a fleeting, nervous tick. His eyes, though fixed on the conversation, seem to hold a flicker of unease. You wonder, briefly, if it is merely the wine, or something else. The thought of poison, a grim undercurrent from your earlier errand, resurfaces, a cold whisper in the back of your mind. In this world of intricate power plays, where fortunes could be made or lost, where reputations could be ruined with a single misstep, the subtle, deadly role of poison is a constant, unspoken threat. You have heard the hushed tales, seen the consequences. A sudden illness, a lingering ailment, a swift, inexplicable death. These are often not the work of the gods, but of a carefully administered dose, slipped into wine, mixed into a sauce, or even subtly applied to a piece of fruit. You glance at the other ministrators, their faces impassive, their movements equally precise. Are they aware of this invisible dance of danger? Do they, too, harbor such suspicions? It is a hidden knowledge, a shared understanding among those who serve, born of observing the darker side of power. As you pour wine for a different guest, a lesser client whose eagerness to please is almost palpable, you notice a small, ornate ring on his finger, its stone dull and unremarkable, but your trained eye also registers a subtle, almost invisible, residue on the rim of his goblet. As he lifts it, your mind, ever vigilant, logs the detail, though you dare not betray any reaction. The food continues to arrive from the kitchen in a steady procession. Roasted peacocks with their feathers reattached for display, delicate fish steamed in aromatic sauces, elaborate vegetable dishes shaped into intricate forms, bowls of exotic fruits. Each dish is a masterpiece of culinary art, a testament to the cocause's skill and the sheer abundance of the master's household. The pursuit of beauty, you reflect, extends beyond the fine garments and the grand architecture. It permeates every aspect of their lives, even their very sustenance. And every single exquisite detail is underpinned by the relentless, often invisible, labor of people like you. As the evening progresses, the conversation grows louder, more boisterous. The wine flows freely. Some guests become more expansive, their true personalities, perhaps, less guarded. Others grow quiet, their eyes darting about, observing, calculating. You, the silent observer, collect these fragments of behavior, these subtle tells. Who is truly at ease? Who carries a secret burden? Who is watching whom? This is your clandestine education, your mastery of social dynamics, a survival skill as vital as any other. You fetch a fresh amphora of wine from a serving station, the weight heavy on your shoulder. As you pour, a guest makes a crude joke about a rival, eliciting a ripple of nervous laughter from the other diners. The master, though smiling, his eyes betray a flash of something unreadable, perhaps amusement, perhaps calculation. This, too, is part of the performance. The ability to navigate the treacherous currents of Roman humor and insult. The hours stretch on. The banquet is a marathon of consumption and conversation. Your legs ache from standing and moving. Your arms feel heavy from carrying platters and amphorae. But your mind remains sharp, your vigilance unbroken. You anticipate the need for a fresh napkin, the request for more water, the silent command to clear a used dish. You are an extension of the master's will, a seamless part of the grand illusion he presents to his guests as the courses slowly draw to a close, and the guests begin to show signs of satiation and fatigue. The atmosphere shifts subtly. The initial formality gives way to a more relaxed, though still measured, conviviality. You begin to clear away the used dishes, the elaborate remnants of the feast. The waste, you note, is immense: half-eaten portions, discarded garnishes, spilled wine. So much abundance, so much discarded. It is a striking contrast to the carefully hoarded scraps of your own life. The Senna, though not yet concluded, is winding down for you. The most intense period of serving is nearing its end. Your next task will be the arduous work of cleaning the triclinium once the guests finally depart, a return to the physical labor that underpins all this ephemeral grandeur. But for now, you remain in the background, a silent, watchful presence, an invisible part of the master's performance, carrying the hidden knowledge of the poisons, both literal and metaphorical, that flow beneath the surface of Roman power. As the Senna slowly wanes, the boisterous laughter gives way to more measured conversation. The clatter of silver against pottery softens, and the guests, their stomachs full and their minds perhaps dulled by wine, begin to stir on their couches. The grand performance of Roman hospitality, having reached its crescendo, now enters its protracted denouement. You, the silent observer, remain vigilant, clearing away the final platters, offering last pours of wine, retrieving discarded napkins. Your movements are economical, your gaze sweeping the room, anticipating the precise moment when the master will signal the end of the evening. Finally, with a subtle nod, the dominus signals his intention. The guests, though reluctant to break the spell of comfort, begin the slow, graceful process of departure. There is a flurry of final pleasantries, of promises to meet again, of elaborate farewells. You stand by the entrance to the triclinium, a silent, living archway through which they must pass. You collect the cloaks and outer garments they draped over the backs of their couches, ensuring each is returned to its rightful owner. You hold torches aloft as they are escorted to the atrium by other slaves, illuminating their path through the now dimly lit domus. The air in the triclinium undergoes a dramatic shift as the last guest departs, leaving behind a silence that is almost deafening after hours of convivial chatter. The scent of perfumes and roasted meats lingers, but it is now mingled with the sour tang of spilled wine and the faint odor of stale food. The room, once a dazzling tableau of Roman luxury, now presents a scene of glorious disarray. This is the aftermath, the true face of indulgence. You and the other designated cleaning slaves immediately descend upon the space. There is no time for hesitation, no moment for rest. The triclinium must be restored to its pristine condition before the first light of dawn. This is a practical challenge of immense scale, requiring not just brute force, but coordinated effort and an intimate understanding of efficient cleaning. First, the lecti tricliniers, the dining couches. They are stripped of their ornate cushions and covers, which are then carried away to be aired, brushed, or sent for washing. You run your hands over the smooth, polished wood, feeling the sticky residue of spilled wine and the faint grittiness of crumbs. With damp cloths, you begin the laborious process of wiping down each couch, scrubbing away the evidence of the evening's excess. It is a grim humor, perhaps, in the knowledge that so much effort is expended on these inanimate objects, while your own body aches from the very labor that maintains them. Next, the floor, the beautiful mosaic, so carefully protected during the day, is now a landscape of scattered food scraps, broken pieces of pottery, and glistening puddles of wine. You fetch the large, stiff brooms and begin to sweep, pushing the debris into neat piles. The waste is immense, a stark visual contrast to the carefully managed scarcity of your own existence. So much discarded, so much simply thrown away. What lessons could be learned, you wonder, from such abundance, from such casual disregard for what you would consider a bounty? The mosaic itself, with its intricate patterns, must be meticulously cleaned. You bring buckets of water, now cold and heavy, and rough sponges. On your hands and knees, you scrub the tesserae, one small section at a time, until the colors gleam once more. The physical strain is considerable. Your back aches, your knees protest against the hard stone, and your hands grow raw from the constant immersion in water and the abrasive scrubbing. This is the physical manifestation of the pursuit of beauty, the unseen, unglamorous labor that underpins every gleaming surface, every intricate detail. As you work, you observe the remnants of the feast more closely. A half-eaten fig, still moist and sweet, a delicate bone from a small bird, a fragment of a fine glass goblet, shattered, its beauty now ruined. Each piece tells a silent story of the evening's indulgence. You notice, too, the faint, lingering scent of the perfumes worn by the guests, a ghostly presence in the now empty room. The water in your bucket grows murky, quickly reflecting the grime it removes. You change it often, fetching fresh, cold water from the impluvium. This is a practical detail, a small act of dedication to cleanliness that makes the formidable task manageable. Human ingenuity, you reflect, is often most evident not in grand inventions, but in these countless, practical solutions to mundane, yet essential challenges. You recall the fleeting thought of poison earlier, the subtle tremor of a hand, the residue on a goblet rim. Here, in the remnants of the feast, any evidence would be long gone, washed away by the tide of cleaning. Yet, the awareness lingers, a quiet understanding of the dark undercurrents beneath the polished surface of Roman society. Security, you realize, is not just about physical locks or guarded doors. It is about the constant vigilance against unseen threats, the quiet understanding of hidden dangers that flow through the very fabric of power. The hours drag on, marked only by the growing fatigue in your limbs and the gradual progress of the cleaning. The air grows cooler as the night deepens, yet your body remains warm from the exertion. The silence of the triclinium is broken only by the slosh of water the scrape of brooms, and the occasional sigh of a weary slave. There is a shared understanding in this quiet labor, a camaraderie born of common purpose and shared exhaustion. No words are needed. By the time the floor gleams, the couches are reset, and every trace of the senna has been meticulously removed. The eastern sky outside the domos is beginning to lighten, hinting at the imminent arrival of dawn. You stand, stretching your aching back, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion settling over you. The triclinium is once more a pristine space, ready for another day, another social performance. It is as if the grand feast never happened, its only lasting evidence, the fatigue in your own body. Your thoughts turn, instinctively, to your own sleeping space, that meager straw pallet that offers the promise of a brief, desperately needed reprieve. But even now, as the first birds begin to chirp, the day's last task, or rather, the night's final ritual, remains, to ensure the household is secure for the few precious hours of darkness that remain. You are a silent guardian, a keeper of order. Even in the deepest hours of the night, your vigilance a practical solution to the persistent threats of a bustling city. So, if beauty was never the point of your labor, only its outcome, what then was the true purpose of this relentless cycle? The triclinium, now immaculate and silent, reflects the first, faint hint of dawn filtering through its window apertures. Your body aches, a dull, pervasive throb from the relentless hours of labor, yet your mind, though weary, remains acutely aware of the tasks that still stand between you and the brief solace of sleep. The household, having reveled in opulence, now demands protection, a final, meticulous ritual before surrendering to the false peace of slumber. You move through the domos, no longer propelled by the urgent demands of preparation or serving, but by the quiet, methodical precision of securing. The grand halls and intimate chambers that hummed with life hours ago are now steeped in a profound, almost spiritual stillness. The air, cooler now, in the deepest hours before sunrise, carries only the faint, lingering scent of extinguished lamps and the subtle aroma of old stone. This is the hour when the domas reveals its true skeleton, its protective shell. Your first duty is to ensure the main entrance. The grand oak door that allows the flow of Roman life in and out is fully secured. The osterius, the doorkeeper slave, usually handles this, but in these final, deepest hours, a general vigilance is expected of all who serve. You approach the massive door, feeling its solid, unyielding weight. Roman security, you observe, is not always about intricate locks, but often about brute force and robust design. Heavy iron bars, thicker than your arm, slide into deep stone recesses, sealing the entrance from within. You pull each one down, feeling the satisfying thud as it seats home. The sound echoes in the silence, a physical declaration of containment. Next, the various smaller entrances and service doors, each must be checked, tested, ensured that its bolts are thrown, its hinges secure. Some have simple wooden latches, others possess more sophisticated bronze mechanisms. You pass your hand over a particularly ornate lock on a cellar door, its complex tumblers and pins a testament to a craftsman's skill. This is the hidden wisdom of the locksmith, to create an impenetrable barrier, to guard what is precious, and you, the unfree, are entrusted with its practical application. A sardonic twist of fate, where the valuable is protected by those deemed valueless. You know too, that for every lock, there exists a counter-knowledge, a way to circumvent it, a truth known to thieves and, sometimes, to the very slaves who handle them daily. Security, you reflect, is a perpetual game of hide-and-seek, a fragile balance between concealment and discovery. You move through the peristylium, checking the large windows and open archways that lead directly to the inner garden. These are less about physical locks and more about heavy wooden shutters, designed to keep out night prowlers and, perhaps, the chill of the morning air. You ensure each shutter is latched securely from the inside, plunging the garden into deeper shadow. The brief, fleeting enjoyment of its beauty earlier in the day is now replaced by the practical necessity of its containment. The household shrines, the lararium with its small, flickering lamp, is one of the few sources of light in these late hours. You pause for a moment, observing the tiny flame dancing within the terracotta niche. This is a different kind of security, a spiritual one, the protection of the household gods. Do they truly watch over this place, you wonder, or is their vigilance merely a comforting belief, a symbol of order in a chaotic world? You offer no prayer, only a silent acknowledgement of its purpose. As you pass through the tablinum and the bibliotheca, you notice a few scrolls left carelessly on a table by a scribe who departed for his own meager sleep. You carefully re-roll them, ensuring their delicate papyrus is not damaged, and return them to their proper capsi. Even in the dead of night, the preservation of knowledge, of the master's accumulated wisdom, is a duty. You close the chests that contain the valuable texts, ensuring their simple bronze clasps are engaged. This is the practical side of intellectual security, safeguarding the written thoughts that define Roman power. The silence of the Domos is profound now, broken only by the occasional creak of aged timber or the rustle of a nocturnal creature outside. It is a silence that presses in on you, a deep, resonant emptiness after the day's constant din. You are perhaps the only one truly awake in this vast structure, a solitary sentinel in the heart of sleeping power. The Dominus and Domina lie in their luxurious beds, oblivious to the meticulous unseen efforts that keep their world safe and ordered. They sleep deeply, secure in the knowledge that their slaves are vigilant. This irony, a subtle humor in the grand scheme of things, is a quiet companion in your exhaustion. You make a final pass through the main corridors, checking for any stray embers, any forgotten lamps, any sign of disorder. Your eyes are heavy, your movements slow, deliberate. Every muscle in your body protests, yearning for rest. This is the ultimate practical solution to survival, endurance beyond what seems possible, the ability to push through the agony of fatigue. Finally, your rounds complete, the Domos sealed and silent, you make your way to your own sleeping space, the cramped alcove shared with other slaves. The air here is cold, still, carrying the faint, familiar scent of straw and unwashed bodies. Your palate, though hard and thin, beckons with an almost irresistible pull. You lie down, not bothering to remove your tunic, too weary for any further effort. The darkness presses in, complete and absolute. You close your eyes, and for a fleeting moment, the weight of the entire day, the endless tasks, the subtle observations, the quiet philosophical questions, all press down upon you. You are a keeper of secrets, a silent witness to power, a master of practical solutions. Your body demands rest, a brief escape from the relentless cycle, and as sleep begins to claim you, you ponder the very nature of security. Is it truly a fortress of stone and lock, or is it merely the quiet, unyielding vigilance of an unseen hand? Perhaps the stone was never outside. Sleep, when it finally claims you, is not a gentle descent into slumber, but a sudden, absolute surrender. It is less a choice and more an inevitability, the body's ultimate, desperate demand after a day that stretched the very limits of endurance. You collapse onto your straw pallet, the rough fibers a familiar scratch against your skin, and the world immediately recedes. There are no lingering thoughts, no quiet reflections on the nature of locks or the fragility of human power. There is only the vast, enveloping blackness of unconsciousness, a brief, profound annihilation of self. In this deep, dreamless void, your mind, freed from the relentless demands of the waking world, may, for a fleeting moment, touch upon forgotten histories, ancient philosophies, or the hidden wisdom buried beneath the strata of daily toil. Perhaps, in this liminal state, the essence of the stone never outside truly reveals itself, that security, like freedom, like happiness, is not something found in external structures or grand declarations, but is an internal state, a profound resilience born of constant adversity. But these are not conscious thoughts. They are the murmurs of a subconscious mind, too exhausted for articulation, too deeply immersed in the fundamental act of recovery. Time, the merciless master of your waking hours, ceases to exist in this profound sleep. The brief hours of true darkness that remain before the Roman world stirs anew are compressed, distilled into a single, intense moment of oblivion. This is the practical solution to chronic exhaustion, a sleep so deep it borders on a coma, extracting maximum restorative power from minimum available time. You do not dream of grand feasts or political intrigues. If you dream at all, it is of silence, of stillness, of the simple, unburdened act of breathing without purpose. Yet, even in this profound repose, a part of you remains acutely attuned to the subtle shifts in the world around you. It is an internal clock, calibrated by years of necessity and the fear of missing the pre-dawn call. Long before the first visible hint of light stains the eastern sky, a faint, almost imperceptible change in the atmosphere begins to seep into your awareness. The deep, inky blackness of the room seems to lighten infinitesimally. The profound silence, once absolute, now carries the faintest whispers of the city's imminent awakening, a distant dog bark, the stir of rats in the walls, the barely audible creak of timbers in the domos itself. You feel a subtle tremor in your limbs, a deep, unsettling ache that is not the fatigue of yesterday, but the reluctant stirrings of a body preparing for tomorrow. The sensation is like a ghost of a touch, a persistent, gentle nudge that begins to pull you back from the comforting oblivion. It is the world, relentlessly, calling you back to its service. You yearn for more, for another hour, for just a few more precious moments of unburdened unconsciousness. But the very rhythm of your existence, the unyielding cycle of Roman life, dictates otherwise. This is the mystical history lesson embedded in your very being, that all life, regardless of status, is bound by these elemental rhythms. The sun rises, the body demands nourishment, the world demands labor. The dominus awakens to his carefully orchestrated routines, to his pursuits of power and pleasure. You awaken to your equally orchestrated routines, to your endless tasks of maintenance and service. The difference lies not in the cycle itself, but in who dictates its terms, and who bears its full, unyielding weight. The pre-dawn chill, the familiar, bracing cold, begins to assert its presence once more, seeping into your thin tunic, raising goosebumps on your skin. It is a physical reminder that the brief truce with exhaustion is ending. Your eyes, still heavy, flutter open. The darkness is not absolute now. A faint, ethereal grey is visible at the edge of the window opening. a promise of light that will soon demand your full wakefulness. The silence is no longer absolute either. Muffled sounds begin to surface. The almost imperceptible creak of a floorboard from the cubiculum above, signaling the master's restless shift. The faint clatter of a pot in the distant kitchen, where a few early risers, perhaps the vulcanary tending the fires, are already at work. These are the subtle cues, the unwritten signals that your brief, hard-won sleep is drawing to an inevitable close. You push yourself up from the pallet, your muscles protesting, stiff and uncooperative. The act of rising itself is a small victory against the overwhelming desire to remain lost in the dark embrace of unconsciousness. But the day, the Roman day, waits for no one. It is a relentless, ever-consuming entity, and you are its dedicated, indispensable servant as you stand. Adjusting your worn tunic, the first faint hint of birdsong filters in from the peristylium, a fragile melody in the vast, still domos. It is a sound of renewal, of a new beginning, yet for you, it is merely the signal for the continuation of the endless cycle. You are back at the beginning of the day, yet forever changed by the journey of the one before. The pursuit of beauty, the security of locks, the subtle dance of power, the shadow of poison, all these elements of the Roman world, observed and processed, have etched themselves deeper into your understanding. You step out of the sleeping quarters into the cool pre-dawn corridor, your bare feet silent on the stone. The air is still, expectant. The domos sleeps on, awaiting your awakening to animate its mechanisms. Your first task, as always, is to attend to the cubicula, ensuring everything is in its meticulous order before the dominus stirs. The cycle, unbroken, unyielding, begins anew. And maybe, just maybe, the journey was the transformation all along. You step into the cool, silent corridor, your bare feet finding the familiar path with an almost unconscious precision. The air, though still holding the crispness of the deepest night, now carries a faint, almost imperceptible promise of dawn, a subtle shift in the darkness itself. The domos sleeps around you, a massive, quiet entity awaiting your touch to awaken its daily rhythms. Your first task, as the cycle demands, is to attend to the cubicula, the sleeping chambers of the master and mistress. You move with the stealth of a shadow, a phantom in the hushed halls. Every creak of the ancient timbers, every faint whisper of the wind through a distant opening is amplified in this profound quiet. Your goal is not to disturb, but to prepare, to lay the groundwork for the seamless performance of their awakening. This is a practical solution to maintaining the illusion of effortless luxury, the invisible hand that arranges reality before it is perceived. You approach the master's cubiculum first. The door, though thick and heavy, is often left slightly ajar from the inside, a silent invitation for the morning ministrations to begin. You push it open with a feather-light touch, barely disturbing the stillness within. The room is a sanctuary of opulence, even in the dim light. Rich wall frescoes, heavy woolen blankets piled high on the master's bed, the gleam of polished bronze lamps. The master himself lies still, a heavy, silent presence beneath the expensive covers, lost in the depths of his own slumber. Your first duty is to extinguish the small, residual night lamps, if any were left burning, and to prepare the main oil lamps for when he fully stirs. You move to the ornate bronze lampstands, snuffing out any flickering flames with a quiet snick, the lingering scent of olive oil filling the air. Then, you replenish their reservoirs with fresh oil, trim their wicks, and ensure they are ready to be lit at a moment's notice, to banish the remaining darkness with a command. This is not just illumination. It is a ritualistic casting out of shadows, a practical preparation for the master's re-entry into the waking world. Next, you attend to his clothing for the day. This links back to the meticulous work in the vestiarium, where these very garments were cleaned and prepared. You retrieve a freshly laundered linen tunic from a nearby chest, its fabric soft and pristine. Beside it, you lay out his indoor sandals, their leather soft and supple. Each item is chosen with care, laid out with precision, anticipating his needs. The master's wardrobe, you know, is not just about comfort. It is about status, about making the appropriate statement for his morning callers, for his public appearances. You are a silent assistant in this daily performance of identity. You also ensure that a fresh, clean basin and a jug of cool water are placed conveniently beside his bed, ready for his morning ablutions. The water, drawn from the impluvium or a nearby cistern, is still bracingly cold, a shock to the system for those accustomed to warmth. This is the simplest, most fundamental aspect of hygiene, a practical solution to maintaining cleanliness in an ancient world. You ensure the rough linen towel is neatly folded beside the basin, ready for his touch. As you perform these quiet tasks, your ears remain acutely attuned to any sound from the bed. A shift in the blankets, a sigh, a faint cough, any of these signals could mean his imminent awakening, and your immediate need to retreat to the background, your presence rendered invisible. You are like a practiced stagehand, setting the scene before the main actor takes the stage. The pursuit of beauty, you reflect, even in its most mundane forms, requires this constant, meticulous preparation. You glance at the sleeping master, his face relaxed in repose, devoid of the lines of worry or authority that mark his waking hours. He sleeps the sleep of the secure, the untroubled. A subtle humor, dry and unvoiced, bubbles up within you. He sleeps so soundly because you do not. His world is ordered and pristine because you, and others like you, labor tirelessly in the shadows to make it so. Is true freedom, then, the luxury of being oblivious to the mechanisms that sustain one's existence? Or is it found in the hidden wisdom of understanding those mechanisms, even if you are bound by them? Your work in the cubiculum extends to ensuring privacy. The heavy curtains that shroud the windows are still drawn, blocking out the first tentative rays of dawn. The master will choose the moment to admit the day's light, a subtle expression of his control. You respect this boundary, for intrusion, even accidental, is a grave offense. The sanctity of the master's private space is paramount, a reflection of his societal position. You finish your quiet ministrations, ensuring every detail is perfect, every item in its precise place. The room is now a stage, meticulously prepared for the master's grand entrance into the new day. You linger for a moment, listening to his steady, rhythmic breathing. The world outside, the bustling city, has not yet fully awakened, but here, within the domos, the machinery of daily life is already turning, driven by your unseen efforts. As you back out of the cubiculum, closing the door with the same featherlight touch, you carry with you the silent understanding of how a world is created, piece by painstakingly prepared piece, the secret knowledge of routines, of anticipations, of the precise needs of those you serve. This is your power, a quiet, unacknowledged force that shapes their reality. Your next tasks await, perhaps the cleaning of the atrium once more, ensuring it is ready for the morning salutation, or assisting the Ancilla with the heating of the water for the demeanor's morning bath. The cycle, unbroken, unyielding, begins anew. Each task, no matter how repetitive, is a practical solution to the persistent challenges of Roman life. And you, the unfree, are the embodiment of resilience, adapting, enduring, and, in your silent way, always observing. The journey, you remind yourself, as the cold morning air nips at your skin, continues. And maybe, just maybe, the transformation was the journey all along, having prepared the master's cubiculum, leaving it pristine and expectant. You move through the still slumbering domos, the echoes of your bare feet barely registering on the cold stone. The faint hints of dawn are now more pronounced, painting the eastern sky with a faint, bruised purple. Your next destination is the private bath chamber of the domina, the mistress of the house. Here, the pursuit of beauty is elevated to an art form, a daily ritual that demands immense labor and a meticulous understanding of personal care. As you approach, the sounds begin to change. From within the bath chamber, you hear the muffled sounds of female voices, the splashing of water, and the rhythmic groan of ropes as heavy buckets are hoisted. This is the domain of the ancilla, the female slaves, whose lives are largely governed by the mistress's intricate routines. You are a temporary visitor here, assigned to assist with the heaviest tasks. The brute force required to maintain the illusion of effortless luxury. The air in the bath chamber is already warm, thick with steam and the scent of heated water, mingled with the delicate, flowery fragrance of perfumed oils. Large, copper cauldrons, blackened by countless fires, sit over small, constantly stoked hearths, radiating an intense heat. Female slaves, their tunics dampened by sweat and steam, move with practiced efficiency, their muscles straining as they lift heavy amphorae of water, emptying them into the simmering cauldrons. This is the most fundamental aspect of Roman bathing. The sheer physical effort required to heat vast quantities of water in an age without modern plumbing. It is a testament to human ingenuity in overcoming logistical challenges, a practical solution to the desire for warmth and cleanliness. You join their ranks, your strength immediately put to use. You grab the thick ropes, your hands finding purchase on the worn fibers, and begin to hoist buckets of cold water from a nearby cistern, pulling them up from the depths, then pouring their contents into the waiting cauldrons. The weight is considerable, a constant strain on your shoulders and back. Each bucket is a small victory against inertia, a contribution to the mistress's comfort. The ornatrix, the personal maid responsible for the domina's appearance, is already busy preparing a myriad of cosmetic tools. Small bronze mirrors, intricate combs made of ivory, delicate spatulas for applying ointments, and tiny vials of precious perfumes. She is a slave of significant standing, her hidden wisdom residing not just in her skill with hair and makeup, but in her intimate knowledge of the mistress's preferences, her moods, and the subtle nuances of Roman female fashion. She supervises the other ancilla, her voice soft but authoritative, ensuring every detail is perfect. You notice the elaborate preparations for hairstyling. The domina's hair, you know, will be painstakingly arranged into complex braids, curls, and waves, often adorned with pearls or gold pins. This is not mere grooming. It is a meticulous craft, a daily act of sculpting beauty that can take hours. The pursuit of beauty, you reflect, is a demanding master, requiring immense dedication, not just from the domina herself, but from the unseen hands that make it possible. As the water in the cauldrons heats, steam fills the room, clinging to the walls, blurring the edges of the frescoes depicting graceful nymphs and serene landscapes. The bath itself, a large, sunken basin lined with polished marble, is slowly filling with the warm, fragrant water, its surface shimmering. The air is thick with the scent of rosewater, lavender, and the richer, more exotic perfumes favored by the demeanor. These are the aromas of luxury, an olfactory veil for the brute labor that underlies them. You continue to ferry water, your movements rhythmic, almost hypnotic. The other Ancilla attend to various tasks, preparing soft linen towels, warming them by the hearth, mixing scented oils and lotions in delicate alabaster jars, laying out clean tunics and stolas. Each action is precise, practiced, a part of the intricate dance that is the Domina's morning ritual. You catch glimpses of their subtle interactions, the unspoken communication between them, a shared glance, a small sigh, a fleeting smile. Within the hierarchical structure of slavery, there are still human connections, small moments of shared understanding, a collective resilience in facing their daily challenges. They, like you, are performers in the grand Roman drama, their roles dictated by birth and circumstance, yet finding small ways to assert their unspoken humanity. The Domina herself soon enters the bath chamber, her presence bringing a new intensity to the room. She moves with an air of aristocratic grace, her body draped in a light, silken robe. Her expression is one of calm expectation, her face bare, unadorned by the elaborate cosmetics that will soon transform it. You are careful not to make eye contact, your gaze fixed on the task at hand, your presence as unobtrusive as possible. As she slips into the warm bath, a soft sigh of contentment escapes her lips. For her, this is a moment of pure indulgence, a respite from the cares of the Domos. For you, it represents the culmination of hours of heavy, hot labor. This contrast, a subtle humor in the grand scheme of things, highlights the vast chasm between your two worlds. She luxuriates, you toil. She commands, you serve. You continue to stand ready, anticipating any need. A fresh pitcher of warm water, a clean sponge, a specific scented oil. The ornatrix begins to gently wash the Domina's hair, her movements practiced and delicate. You observe the soft, smooth skin of the Domina's arms, the careful tending of her nails. This is the constant maintenance of the elite body, a project of beauty that requires ceaseless attention. The thought of poison, though less immediate here than in the political world of the Senna, is not entirely absent. You recall whispers of rivalries between wealthy Roman women, of cosmetic preparations laced with subtle toxins for enemies, or even for self-administered, slower-acting beauty aids that damaged the body in the long run. The pursuit of beauty, you realize, can sometimes intersect with the subtle, deadly role of poison, a darker side to ancient philosophies of appearance. As the Domina's bath progresses, the steam continues to rise, clouding the room, creating an ethereal, almost mystical atmosphere. It feels as though you are observing a timeless ritual, a daily purification that transcends mere hygiene. Yet, the reality of the physical labor, the constant heat, the aching muscles, anchors you firmly to the pragmatic earth. The bath concludes, and the Domina, refreshed and invigorated, prepares for the next stage of her morning ritual, the elaborate dressing and adorning. Your immediate task here is done. You quietly retrieve your empty buckets and begin to move back towards the main passages of the Domos. The sounds of the awakening household are growing louder now. The distinct voice of the Vilicus in the atrium, the first sounds of the salutators beginning to arrive. The Roman day, having been meticulously prepared by your unseen hands, is now ready to begin its full, bustling performance. And you, the unfree, are already deep within its relentless rhythm. your journey of transformation continuing, one laborious, observant step at a time. You step out of the steamy, fragrant bath chamber, the sounds of the dominor's luxurious ablutions fading behind you. The domus outside now hums with a more insistent energy. The distant murmur from the atrium is no longer faint. It has swelled into the familiar chorus of the salutators, their voices a collective tide rising with the morning sun. The rhythm of the Roman day, carefully set in motion by your unseen efforts in the pre-dawn hours, now asserts its full, relentless force. Your path leads you back to the public spaces, the grand stage where the master's power is daily reaffirmed. The atrium, when you arrive, is already filling. The air, though still cool, is now thick with the presence of multiple bodies, carrying the faint scent of their perfumes, the lingering metallic temps of the city. You take your accustomed place near the entrance to the master's cubiculum, becoming, once more, a silent, watchful sentinel. The scene unfolding before you is a precise replica of the one that played out yesterday, and the day before, and countless days before that. The same clients, or men very much like them, stand with the same postures of deference and expectation. They wear togas of varying quality, their faces etched with a familiar blend of ambition, anxiety, and a touch of practiced humility. The master, when he eventually emerges, will perform his role with the same measured dignity, dispensing brief greetings and subtle nods of favor. This repetition, you realize, is not merely a feature of your enslaved existence. It is the very bedrock of Roman society. Ritual, routine, and predictable performance define the lives of both master and slave. The difference, perhaps, lies only in one's awareness of it. For them, it is tradition, stability, a natural order. For you, it is the inescapable cycle, a wheel that turns endlessly, demanding your strength with each revolution. Can the world truly be changed? You ponder if its very fabric is woven from such immutable threads of repetition. Or is true change only possible on the smallest, most personal scale, within the quiet confines of one's own mind? You observe the familiar dance of patronage. A client bows deeper than the rest, his voice dripping with flattery as he praises the master's recent legal victory. Another presents a small gift, a carefully chosen trinket meant to convey respect and secure favor. You fetch water for a parched throat, a scroll for a quick reference, your movements honed by endless repetition into a seamless, almost invisible efficiency. Your body remembers the pathways, the weights, the precise angles, a testament to practical solutions achieved through sheer endurance. You notice the subtleties you might have missed when you first began this life, the way a favored client is given a slight incline of the master's head, a sign of particular esteem, the way a less fortunate supplicant is dismissed with a barely perceptible flick of the wrist. These are the unspoken languages of power, the hidden wisdom of social dynamics that you, the silent observer, learn to read with uncanny accuracy. This knowledge, though it grants you no freedom, allows you to anticipate, to react, to navigate the treacherous currents of the domos with greater ease. A philosophical question resurfaces, one that has accompanied you through the turning wheel of days. What is the true nature of purpose in a life defined by repetition? Is it found in the grand ambitions of the master who seeks to expand his influence and wealth? Or is it found in the quiet mastery of one's craft, in the seamless execution of duty, even when that duty is unchosen? Perhaps purpose is not an external goal, but an internal state, a dignity found in the honest application of skill, regardless of the task's perceived importance. The banter among the clients is as predictable as the sunrise. Discussions of the latest public works, the upcoming elections, the scandalous behavior of a particular senator. You hear the same sentiments, the same concerns, recycled with slight variations. This subtle humor, almost sardonic, derives from contrasting the grand pronouncements of the elite with the sheer banality of their daily concerns, their anxieties often mirroring your own, though draped in the silks of power. As the salutatio reaches its midpoint, the domos begins to warm further. The sun, now higher, casts bolder patterns of light and shadow across the atrium's floor. The constant flow of people, the rising volume of voices, creates a dense atmosphere of human activity. You notice the occasional new face among the clients, a hopeful newcomer seeking entry into the master's circle of patronage, their eagerness almost palpable. For them, this morning ritual is a beginning, a chance. For you, it is a continuation, an enduring loop. Your legs, though accustomed to standing for long periods, begin to feel the familiar ache. Your mind, though engaged in observation, yearns for the brief respite of solitude. Yet, you remain rooted to your spot, an unmoving fixture in a world of constant motion. This is resilience, not in a dramatic act of defiance, but in the quiet, unyielding persistence of presence. The master eventually retires to his tablinum or to breakfast, signaling the winding down of the morning reception. The clients, having paid their respects, begin to disperse, their departures as ritualistic as their arrivals. The atrium gradually empties, leaving behind a lingering scent of humanity and the quiet hum of the domos settling into its next phase. You then return to the tasks of restoration, sweeping away the dust and stray debris, ensuring the space is once again immaculate. This too is repetition, but with a different focus. The cleansing of the slate, the preparation for the next cycle, the meticulous cleaning, the pursuit of beauty in a flawless environment is an endless task, a practical solution to the constant accumulation of life's detritus. As the domus transitions towards the late morning, and your thoughts turn to the midday prondium, that fleeting, essential refueling, you realize the profound cyclical nature of your existence. Each day mirrors the last, a continuous loop of labor, observation, and subtle survival. And yet, within this repetition, you find a deepening understanding, a quiet mastery of your environment, a hidden wisdom born not of choice, but of necessity. The journey, you know, continues, even when it feels like you are simply returning to the start. The morning rituals have concluded. The atrium, once again pristine, exhales the lingering scent of vanished ambition and whispered please. Your stomach, now anticipating the meager prondium, still churns with a deeper hunger, a constant companion that only a brief, functional meal can temporarily appease. Yet, the day's cadence shifts once more. The master, having dispensed his morning patronage and perhaps reviewed his scrolls, now prepares for an essential part of his Roman afternoon, the public baths. Your duty now transforms. You are no longer merely a part of the domus machinery, but an extension of the master himself, accompanying him into the vibrant, communal world of the Roman thermae. You retrieve his capsa, a cylindrical container for his bathing essentials, carefully checking its contents. A strigil for scraping oil and sweat from his skin, a small flask of perfumed oil, a soft linen towel, and a few coins for sundry purchases or offerings. These are the tools of leisure, meticulously prepared by your hands for his enjoyment. Stepping out into the Roman streets again, The midday sun, now high and unforgiving, is to re-enter the ceaseless roar of the city. The heat radiates from the cobblestones, rising in shimmering waves, mingling with the familiar cacophony of vendors, carts, and countless voices. You navigate the throng, your senses heightened, clutching the master's capsa close, its security paramount. It is a subtle irony. The master seeks relaxation, while you, his shadow, must remain constantly vigilant. The path to the public baths is a familiar one, leading through bustling markets and past towering insulae. You pass fellow slaves, carrying water, goods, or messages, their faces etched with the same weariness, their movements as purposeful as your own. There is a silent acknowledgement, a shared understanding of lives lived in perpetual motion, in service to another's convenience. Finally, the vast, imposing structure of the Thermae rises before you. Its grand arches and massive walls a testament to Roman engineering and the city's obsession with communal hygiene. The air here is instantly different, thick with the scent of steam, human bodies, and chlorine from the pools, overlaid with the earthy smell of damp stone. Sounds of splashing, laughter, and the resonant echoes of voices bounce off the high ceilings. The baths are a microcosm of Roman society, a place where citizens of all ranks, from senators to artisans, mingle, albeit within their unspoken social hierarchies. It is not merely a place for washing, it is a social hub, a gymnasium, a library, a site for business dealings and casual gossip. For the Romans, the body is a temple, meticulously cared for, a public display of health and vigor. You, however, are a tool, a living extension of their convenience. Upon entering, you follow the master into the appetiterium, the changing room. Here, the scene is one of bustling, uninhibited activity. Clothes are shed, bodies are exposed, and the sounds of conversation fill the vast space. The master hands you his toga and outer tunic, which you carefully fold and place in a designated niche, often a small, open cubby. There is no lock, only the unspoken trust in your unwavering vigilance. Your security of his belongings is, again, a matter of your presence and unwavering attention, not a physical barrier. While the master progresses through the various stages of the bath, the frigidarium cold plunge, the tepidarium warm room, and the caldarium hot room, your role is to wait, to guard his belongings, and to anticipate his needs. You stand by his niche, a silent statue of attendance, observing the ebb and flow of human bodies. You watch other slaves, the unctor, who rubs bathers with oil, the elliptor, who massage, the capillari, who cut hair, and the countless other attendants, who ensure the smooth functioning of this massive public facility. These are your brethren in servitude, their specialized skills contributing to the same grand illusion of effortless leisure. You observe the bathers. Some engage in lively conversation, their voices echoing, others recline in quiet contemplation. You see men of power, stripped of their elaborate togas, their bodies revealing the wear and tear of age, or the scars of old campaigns. Here, in the raw honesty of the bathhouse, the pursuit of beauty is laid bare, the striving for physical fitness in the exercise yards, the careful application of oils, the meticulous scraping of skin with the It is a pragmatic pursuit, aimed at maintaining a healthy, presentable body, a stark contrast to your own, whose function is simply to endure. The steam from the caldarium billows out, carrying the scent of warm water and sweat. You can almost feel the heat radiating from that inner sanctum. You imagine the master, immersed in the hot water, his muscles relaxing, his mind perhaps contemplating the day's affairs, or simply drifting into a state of blissful oblivion. For him, the bath is a sensory indulgence. For you, it is a waiting game, a testament to the immense, unseen labor of thousands of individuals who constructed and maintained the aqueducts, the furnaces, the very buildings that make such public luxury possible. This environment, so different from the contained order of the domos, offers a different kind of hidden wisdom. You learn the rhythm of the public space, the unspoken rules of interaction, the subtle ways to navigate its crowds and demands. You see the petty squabbles between bathers, the casual arrogance of some, the quiet dignity of others. It is a deeper immersion into the social dynamics of Rome, a city built on both grandeur and the unceasing efforts of the UNFREE. As the afternoon wears on, the bathers begin to thin out. The master eventually returns to the apoditerium refreshed and invigorated. You hand him his clean towel, assist him as he scrapes off the excess oil and sweat with his strigil, then help him don his fresh tunic and toga. His skin gleams, his hair is neatly combed, and an aura of well-being radiates from him. He is ready to re-enter the world of civic life, his physical being renewed. You collect the used towel and the capsa, now lighter. Your own body, however, remains unrefreshed, still aching from the day's efforts, merely warmed by the pervasive heat of the baths. The contrast is sharp, a subtle humor in the shared human experience of the body. He cleanses, you clean up. As you walk back towards the domus, the sun beginning its slow descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple. The city's sounds seem to shift once more, taking on the softer tones of late afternoon. Your mind, though tired, is filled with the vivid impressions of the Thermae. Another layer of understanding added to your growing knowledge of Roman life. The journey, you know, continues, a relentless progression towards the day's end, and perhaps, just perhaps, the transformation was the journey all along. You walk back towards the domus, the scent of the baths gradually fading from the master's perfumed person as the city air reclaims its dominance. The sun, now a molten disk sinking towards the horizon, paints the Roman skyline in fiery oranges and deep purples, casting long dramatic shadows that stretch across the cobblestones. The city's cacophony has softened, replaced by the more subdued hum of the evening. A shift from the urgency of commerce to the quiet anticipation of domesticity. Your body, despite the brief respite of the bath's pervasive warmth, feels the full weight of the day's accumulated toil. Entering the domus once more, the transition is like stepping into a different world. The external chaos of the streets gives way to the familiar, ordered quiet of the master's residence. The atrium is now bathed in the soft, receding glow of twilight, the ancestral busts seeming to gaze down with an even greater solemnity. The sounds of the household are muted, a gentle rustle of activity as the evening preparations begin. Your immediate duty is to assist the master in his transition from public man to private citizen. You accompany him to his cubiculum, or perhaps his private study, the tablinum, where he prefers to spend his evenings. You help him shed the formal toga, replacing it with a simpler, more comfortable indoor tunic. You retrieve his preferred reading scrolls, carefully selected from his extensive collection, and place them within easy reach on a small, bronze-legged table. This is the hour of the master's leisure, a precious period of respite before his own slumber. For him, it is a time for quiet contemplation, for reading, perhaps dictating a few thoughts to a waiting scribe, or engaging in a final, private conversation with a trusted freedman. For you, however, It is merely another shift in duties, a different form of service that requires heightened attentiveness to his subtle, unspoken needs. You move through the growing dimness, preparing the oil lamps that will illuminate his evening hours. Each lamp is filled, each wick trimmed, each flame coaxed into a steady, clean burn. The soft, golden light gradually fills the room, pushing back the encroaching shadows, creating a warm, intimate glow that highlights the rich frescoes and ornate furnishings. This is the practical art of illuminating another's world, a hidden wisdom in the manipulation of light and shadow, contributing to the ambience of his comfort. As you perform these final tasks, your mind, though weary, remains sharp, observing the minute details of the master's private habits. You notice the way he sighs as he finally settles into his favorite chair, the slight tremor in his hand as he reaches for a scroll, the fleeting expression of fatigue that crosses his face when he believes himself unobserved. These are the intimate vulnerabilities, the unspoken truths that only those who serve so closely come to know. This hidden wisdom, this secret knowledge of his true self, is a peculiar kind of power, a silent understanding that transcends the master-slave dynamic. Though it grants you no overt authority, you prepare a simple drink for him, perhaps diluted wine or cool water infused with a sprig of mint. As you pour the liquid into a delicate goblet, the thought of poison, that subtle, deadly instrument of Roman power, resurfaces with a quiet intensity. It is not an active threat in this moment, but a persistent echo, a constant awareness of the fragility of life, especially at the highest echelons of society. You recall whispers you've overheard, tales of rivals eliminated not by blade, but by a carefully chosen herb, a seemingly innocuous powder dissolved in a late-night drink. You remember the vague, unsettling observation from the Senna, the subtle residue on a goblet. Here, in the quiet intimacy of the master's private chamber, the vulnerability seems heightened. He trusts you with his life, with the very cup he drinks from. This immense unspoken trust, you realize, is a security more profound and perhaps more dangerous than any lock or guard. What if the very hand that serves could also unmake? It is a grim, sardonic contemplation of the true nature of power and its inherent, deadly fragility. You place the goblet beside him, your hand steady, your face impassive. He barely glances up, already absorbed in his scroll. Your presence is functional, not personal. You retreat to the shadows, remaining within earshot, ready to respond to any call, any unspoken need. The hours of the evening slowly pass, marked by the turning of scrolls, the occasional clink of the goblet, the gentle crackle of the oil lamps. The domos gradually settles into the deeper stillness of the night. Other slaves, having completed their duties, will have already sought their own brief, restless sleep. But for you, the day's final vigilance remains. You are the last line of defense, the unseen guardian of the master's peace. Physical exhaustion weighs heavily on you, a deep, pervasive ache that now feels as much a part of you as your own bones. Your eyes sting, your limbs are heavy. You yearn for the cold comfort of your straw pallet, for the brief, dreamless oblivion that awaits. Yet, the quiet satisfaction of a day well done, of a life meticulously lived, however unfree, flickers within you. This is human resilience, not in grand triumphs, but in the countless small acts of endurance, the unwavering commitment to practical solutions against relentless challenges. As the master finally sets down his scroll, a soft sigh escaping his lips, you know the end of your day is near. He will prepare for bed, and your final task will be to extinguish his lamps, leaving him in the comforting darkness of his secure chamber. The contrast between his profound, well-earned rest and your brief, hard-won sleep is stark. Yet, in that contrast, there is a strange, quiet dignity in your own endurance. What is peace? You muse in the quietude. Is it the absence of work, the luxury of unburdened sleep, or is it a state of mind achieved through the very act of overcoming, of bringing order to chaos, of securing a world for another, even as your own remains bound? Perhaps the stone was never outside, and maybe, just maybe, the journey was the transformation all along. The ultimate security, you reflect, is not in what is locked away, but in the knowledge that even in the deepest night, life, relentless and cyclical, continues. You wait, poised for the Master's final command, ready to extinguish the light and usher in the quiet darkness of the Roman night. The Master finally stirs, a soft, almost imperceptible movement that nonetheless registers acutely in your heightened state of exhaustion. He sets aside his scroll, his eyes, momentarily unburdened by thought, fixing on the flickering oil lamps. With a subtle gesture of his hand, a final, unspoken command, he indicates their extinguishment. This is the last task, the quiet ushering of night, the final act in the relentless drama of the Roman day. You approach each lamp, your movements slow, deliberate, each snick of the wick, as it is snuffed, echoing softly in the now profound silence of the chamber. One by one, the golden pools of light recede, swallowed by the encroaching darkness. The air, once warm and luminous, grows cooler, thicker, embracing the room in a gentle, velvet cloak. The Master's form dissolves into shadow, a powerful presence reduced to an outline against the deeper gloom. His world, once bright and bustling, now surrenders to the universal embrace of night. Secured by the very hands that served its light, the room is now plunged into near total darkness, illuminated only by the faintest, almost imperceptible sliver of starlight filtering through a distant opening. You stand for a moment, a silent guardian in the heart of this sleeping empire. The Master breathes deeply, already descending into his secure, unburdened slumber. For him, the day is done, its demands met, its pleasures indulged. For you, the ultimate luxury is merely the promise of a few stolen hours of unconsciousness. You retreat from the Master's chamber, closing the door with the same feather-light touch with which you opened it at dawn. The domus is now a vast, echoing cavern, its grand spaces silent, its intricate mechanisms temporarily at rest. You move through the hushed corridors, guided by an instinctual memory of its layout, towards your own meager sleeping space. The air is still, expectant, holding the collected breaths of countless sleeping inhabitants. As you reach your straw pallet, that thin, familiar patch of hard earth that serves as your only private domain, you feel the profound weight of the entire day settle upon you. The morning's cold, the relentless demands of the salutatio, the heat and chaos of the kitchen, the subtle dangers of the forum, the meticulous pursuit of beauty in the vestiarium and bath chamber, the sheer spectacle of the cena and the quiet, vigilant rituals of security. All these experiences, these countless observations, coalesce within you. You lie down, your body yielding to the inevitable pull of exhaustion. The hard ground feels like a welcome embrace, its unyielding nature, a comfort after a day of constant motion. You close your eyes, and in the overwhelming darkness, your mind, though weary, begins to swirl, not with dreams, but with a deeper, more profound reflection. You have witnessed the hidden wisdom of the coquus in transforming humble ingredients, the practical solutions of the vestiarius in preserving fragile beauty. You have understood the intricate dance of social dynamics, the performance of power played out in every gesture, every word. You have guarded the master's secrets, carried his messages, and been intimately aware of the subtle, deadly role of poison that lurks beneath the polished surface of Roman power. You have kept the household secure, understanding that true security is as much about vigilance and trust as it is about locks and stone. All day, you have moved between worlds, the raw reality of your labor and the gilded illusion of their leisure. You have seen the pursuit of beauty in its most exquisite forms, and felt the sweat and grime that makes it possible. You have carried gold, but possessed none, guarded secrets, but understood little of their content. And now, as the profound stillness of the Roman night finally claims you, a quiet understanding blossoms in your weary mind. The journey through this endless cycle of a Roman slave's day, fraught with challenges, rich in observation, has indeed been a transformation. You have not changed your station, nor perhaps the world around you, but your perception has deepened, your understanding broadened. The mundane has revealed its profundity, the invisible its power. Perhaps the stone was never outside, but a fortress built within, formed of resilience and quiet observation. And maybe, just maybe, the journey was the transformation all along, an unending lesson in the enduring spirit of humanity. So, if gold was never the point of your endless toil, the pursuit of power merely another fleeting performance, what then was? Perhaps it was the quiet, unyielding rhythm of life itself, the rise and fall of breath, the steady beat of the heart, the silent turning of the earth, the profound, unacknowledged dignity of being, in every moment, a silent, indispensable part of the vast, intricate, beautiful, and endlessly demanding tapestry of existence. And in that quiet awe, you finally surrender to the brief, precious oblivion of sleep.